Good evening. I call this meeting of the City of Olive Branch Planning Commission to order. This meeting is open to the public and is being conducted under our adopted rules of procedure, city ordinances, and Mississippi law. This meeting is being broadcast and recorded for public not in attendance. We will follow the published agenda. Public comments will be taken only when an item is opened for public hearing. Can we get the roll call?
Dion Jones.
Here.
William Jones.
Here.
Janice Lewis.
Here.
Mark Long.
Here.
Diane Singer.
Here.
Donnie Singh. Steve Stratton.
Thank you. Everybody had an opportunity to receive a copy of the minutes. Are there any comments, suggestions, or edits to it? I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mark Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Before we move on, I'd like to welcome William Jones to the commission. After the departure of Pat Dorr, our first order of business is elections. So I'll open it up to nominations for chair and vice chair. We'll start with chair.
I make a motion to nominate Dion Jones as chair.
Any other nominations? Oh, can we get a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of electing Dion Jones to chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Make a note that Dion Jones was elected chair. All right. Nominations for vice chair?
Motion for Donnie Singh to be nominated for vice chair.
That's proof of if you don't show up, you might get elected. Sounds right.
That's right.
All right.
I'll second.
We got a second for Donnie Singh. All those in favor?
I'll second.
All those in favor of Donnie Singh, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. All right. So, thank you. I appreciate the honor of being the chair. Hopefully I serve you and the people of Olive Branch well. We'll get started with old business. So what? Minutes? Did minutes. Yeah. All right, old business. Consideration to amend the zoning ordinance by adding various definitions restricting indoor and outdoor smoking in public place establishments within 500 feet of public parks, specifying criteria for data centers as conditional uses in the M1 light industrial and the M2 heavy industrial districts only, and limiting the height of freestanding monument signs in the office and the neighborhood commercial C1 districts to 8 feet, and in the C2 highway commercial, C3 general commercial, and C4 planned commercial districts to 12 feet. Can we get a report from staff?
Mr. Chairman, Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to amend the current zoning ordinance of the City of Olive Branch to address four main things. The first is to add various definitions in the zoning ordinance for clarification purposes. These includes definitions addressing such issues as what is a data center, what is a data center accessory use, what are data center energy systems, and other terms that we deem necessary to clarify in the zoning code to ensure that there are no ambiguities whenever these terms are used from a legal perspective. The second is to address smoking and vaping around public parks. Public parks are intended for public use. They are not individual private properties. As such, it is important that they be welcoming places. Sometimes smoking and vaping in around these parks constitute a deterrent activity, especially for those with various health conditions. Creating this buffer allows or opens the parks and render them open for use by the public at large without such impediments, especially to people with various health conditions. This, however, recognizes the fact that there are certain uses with designated smoking areas that may, for example, a restaurant or some other private use that may, existing use in particular, that may have a designated smoking area within the 500 feet buffer. These regulations will recognize those designated areas. Folks will be able to, to smoke in those areas, and they will need to be at the location on that property that is furthest away from the park as much as possible. The third element, which will be the focus of most of the presentation tonight, will be to specify criteria for data centers as conditional uses in the M1 and M2 zoning district. And lastly, to reduce the maximum height of freestanding signs in the office and neighborhood commercial district from 15 feet to 8 feet, and in the highway, general commercial, and planned commercial districts from 25 feet to 12 feet. We have been enforcing or applying these restrictions in the height of signs for about the past 4 or 5 years, but we've never really codified them. So this is intended to ensure that we provide a level playing field for everybody in this particular district going forward by actually making them very explicit in the sign ordinance. Focusing on the element of data centers, for the past 3 months or so, the Planning Commission has been dealing with this particular use. You've provided directives to staff multiple times. Those issues you asked to be addressed have been addressed, brought before you, reworked into the regulations. And so tonight, I will not be going into a detailed and fresh presentation. I'll be building up the presentations that we have had in the past 3 meetings and really focusing on what is being added or what is being changed, so to speak. Otherwise, it may be midnight and we'll still be here talking about these particular issues. Why are we writing these regulations? Now, I think it's important to clarify. These regulations are not before the city for consideration because there is some data center application out there. No. The city of Olive Branch does not have any standing application for a data center in the city. There is none. If there were any, it will come through the planning department. There is no application out there coming to the city. However, planning means you got to plan for the future. You think about the future. We've seen the trend, and it's important that we be proactive. We've seen, data centers have gone into Memphis. We have the one in South Haven. Other cities are dealing with this particular use, which is kind of new to some extent. It's not, data centers are not totally new. They've been around, but the XAI in particular appears to be the main thing that is new and has generated a lot of public attention to this particular use as a whole. And whenever new things associated with technology show up, then local government or government in general steps in from a regulatory perspective to ensure that negative externalities or the impact of that particular use to cities, to residents, are controlled, basically. This happened, for example, when cell towers showed up, over 25, 30 years ago. I mean, 25 feet, 30 feet, 50 feet. At that time, everybody was up in arms. So I don't want this anywhere near me. It can fall and it will do this, X and Y. Federal government stepped in with regulations. The states stepped in with regulations. Local governments did the same. And today, everything appears to be taken care of. So this is something that appears to be relatively new. And local governments are taking various steps to control the externalities. Currently in the city of Olive Branch, if we had received a data center application, we will be exposed. We do not have regulations in place to control what is evident about this particular use. For example, they are very high power demands. They use a lot of water for their cooling that can affect rates. You have noise. Those are negative externalities. We do not have regulations in the books to control that. And so these regulations are about the city being proactive to step in and put something in the books to make sure that if at any point we ever receive any application, the public is protected. Because at this moment we are exposed. If you go to the M1 district, for example, that is before you, the slide before you, this is the zoning ordinance of the city of Olive Branch. The M1 district is a light industrial district. So the city has essentially three main industrial districts: M1 light industrial, M2 heavy industrial, and then the planned development, the planned industrial districts, M3. If you go to section 12 on the M1 light industrial district, permitted uses, number 6, one of the permitted uses in the M1 district is wholesale merchandising or storage warehouses with or without accessory retail sales and offices. A data center is essentially a digital storage warehouse. If you receive an application today and somebody really wanted to take issue with this ordinance, the person could interpret this ordinance and say, therefore, I am permitted to be in the M1 district as a use by right. As a use by right. Which means they will simply show up in the city, submit their construction plans, it will be approved administratively by staff, they'll go out and build, and they're done. Whatever they do, nobody will be able to stop them. We will not have any controls with regard to power. We will not have any controls with regard to noise at a certain level. You know, the city has a noise ordinance. That is a separate ordinance that will step in to control certain things. We will not have any controls with respect to cooling, energy use, cooling, water, all of that. So these regulations are intended not to permit data centers, but to ensure that the public is protected. Now, whenever we're dealing with the regulations of this nature from the onset, it's important for us to realize that it's not the U.S. Constitution, it's a living document. As the city experiences these things, whether in the city or what may be happening in other areas, these regulations can be amended, they can be improved upon. That's why we have amendments to the zoning code. We're constantly amending, improving them as more information, more as you know, we deal with experiences regarding this particular use. As I did mention, we have this particular provision in the zoning ordinance. This is an example of a data center. Not in the city of Olive Branch, some other city somewhere, quite close to a residential area. With all the turbines and the generators, I don't know what those citizens are facing, what they are going through. This is what we are trying to prevent in the city by enacting these particular regulations. These regulations will make data centers conditional use in the M1 and M2 district. Right now, as I did mention, storage warehouses are permitted uses. These regulations would rather make them conditional. What does that mean? It means that if an applicant showed up in the city of Olive Branch to do a data center, you will have to go before the Board of Zoning Adjustment. There will be a public hearing before the Board of Zoning Adjustment. The Board of Zoning Adjustment will evaluate whether that application meets the 5 general criteria for a conditional use permit, plus all the other requirements that are before the Planning Commission for recommendation to the Board of Aldermen tonight. So there will be a public hearing. If the Board of Zoning Adjustment were to approve and anybody feels aggrieved, that person will have the opportunity to appeal the decision to the Board of Aldermen. The Board of Aldermen will also schedule a public hearing and attend to that particular case and make a final decision. Right now, that route does not exist. So making this a conditional use provides the public an opportunity to have a say anytime any of these uses is proposed in the city of Olive Branch, something that does not exist at this time. It also provides us an enforcement mechanism which we currently do not have. For permitted uses, if there are violations, you gotta give a citation, you go to court, city court, a legislative there, it may end there. But when you have a conditional use permit, the first thing is you notify the property owner if there are violations. You take that property owner before the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and the Board of Zoning Adjustment has the authority to revoke the conditional use permit and shut down the facility. So this is giving the city a lot of tooth, a lot of power when it comes to enforcing regulations regarding data centers in the city. The regulations that you also have will impose various location setbacks and prohibitions. We had a uniform proposal for 2,000 feet setback, it was 1,000 and 2,000 feet setback. At the last Planning Commission meeting, and the chairman did provide or ask that we should consider creating tiers, low intensity, medium density, high intensity data centers, because when you look at the literature, they are not all the same. Their impact is not all the same. So what you have before you is tier 1, 500 feet separation, tier 2, 1,000 feet separation, tier 3, your XAI really, that is 2,000 feet separation. So that gives you, that is your maximum or your most extensive separation from protected uses. What are these protected uses? Any single family residential property or any residential property, not single family. Any residential property, any residentially zoned property, churches, daycare, senior living facilities, assisted living facilities, hospitals, didn't mention daycares and playground for kids, public parks. So those schools, those are all uses that will be protected as such. A key element about this data centers, as I did mention, is the demand. The demand that they have for various elements regarding water, electricity, and so on and so forth. If an application were submitted to the city, the applicant will need to provide us a number of elements, which right now they don't have to. They'll have to provide a site plan. That site plan will include these buffer justifications that I have mentioned, setbacks from these protected uses, the layout, every infrastructure and its location will have to be detailed on the site plan. They will have to address their power use, power demand, power supply. How are they going to meet those demands? If they have to build a separate power station, that's on them. The applicant will have to construct it at their own expense. They'll have to come up with an infrastructure plan, basically, which right now they don't have to. So you have to provide an infrastructure plan that will address power, water and wastewater, gas, community digital ecosystem footprint, ground and roof mounted equipment screening. We don't want all of this that has negative impact on property values in the surrounding areas. When the adjoining properties also look all cluttered up, it has, becomes unsightly, it has a negative impact on property values. So the screening of any accessory structures, cooling and energy systems, perimeter fencing and every security infrastructure, all of that will have to be detailed in the utility and infrastructure plan that will be part of the application, will be reviewed by the different departments and public agencies involved. For example, the power element will have to be reviewed by North Central. And North Central will then submit its recommendation to the Board of Zoning Adjustment. If North Central reviews it and says, per what we are seeing here, this facility is going to use too much power, which we cannot provide, or that is going to have a negative impact on power rates to residents in the city, then that is ground for the Board of Zoning Adjustment to deny the application. So these are security measures to protect the public that are built into these regulations. You look at water, for example. We want to protect the aquifer. You cannot have these facilities within certain areas of our water wells in the city. You don't want those water wells contaminated in any way, shape, or form. So if the water cooling demand, the public will already have certain water pressures in this city, issues in this city. So if the infrastructure plan regarding water shows a demand that is too high, and the water department reviews it, we cannot service it, but they'll provide a recommendation to the Board of Zoning Adjustment that basically says these will have a negative externality on the city that the city will not be able to shoulder, and as such, recommended for denial. If they want to provide their own alternative water sources that enables them to function, those will have to be detailed in the plan. The regulations before you go into details as far as all these elements are concerned, what has to be in the plan. Performance standards. The staff report and the regulations that you have before you, there are a couple of things that staff proposes to add as far as these performance standards are concerned. In addition to what you already have from the past 2-3 months, what you have today, we wish to add a number of considerations to these performance standards that will basically tighten the regulations more. The first one I want to begin with is noise. Daytime noise limit, per the studies, infrastructure, everything that you have in the package. 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., no more than 55 decibels measured at property line of any adjacent parcel. So whether it's commercial, it's residential, whatever, is 55 decibels. Right now in the city, it's actually 75. Any business can make noise up to 75 decibels. So for this particular use, we're reducing it to 55 decibels. Nighttime, 45 decibels. That is far lower than what you have in the city. Noise shall be measured. We want to be very, very clear on what instrument you use to measure that noise, because there are all kinds of other instruments out there. Noise shall be measured using NC certified instruments. 55 decibels, 55 to 65 decibels is the sound of a dishwasher inside a house, if I can use that example. And many of us who sit in our sitting rooms, whether you're there in the kitchen cooking or you're in the sitting room or in the bed sleeping, you've got a dishwasher running. Sound is so low, it doesn't constitute a headache or problem to anybody. That's why we are using that particular maximum level. It's a comfort level. Ground-borne vibration from on-site equipment. It's possible that those equipments you have out there can create vibrations. Pumps, compressors, chillers must not exceed 0.2 inches per second peak particle velocity at adjacent property lines. With regard to water consumption standards, minimum water usage, we had this in the code, in the regulations that are before you, but want to specify the number, 1.8 liters per kilowatt hour. Potable water use must be minimized. Quarterly water use reporting shall be required for any facility consuming more than 25,000 gallons per day. That's your XAI level. Operators must have a pre-approved reduction plan that activates within 48 hours during declared water shortage emergencies. With respect to coolant, these regulations are in addition to the ones you already have in the text that we've been working on for the past 3 months. So we're just adding this. Secondary contaminant systems must be installed for all cooling fluid storage and distribution infrastructure. Leak detection must be active and continuous with automatic alerts to both the operator and the city. A speed response plan must be submitted at permitting and updated annually. Any spent coolant, cooling fluids, refrigerants, and water treatment chemicals must be disposed of through licensed facilities with documented chain of custody records. Heavy metals and chemical contamination of local soil, groundwater, or the aquifer are prohibited. These are not permitted at all. You can't have that. There shall be no discharge of untreated processed water or chemical waste we don't want any of the waste going into the city's wastewater treatment system. No, you cannot have this going into the sewer plant, for example. With regard to energy and grid expansion, power usage target 1.4 or better is PUE. It is required for all new construction, and you have annual reporting requirements. Facilities exceeding 50 megawatts of height load must demonstrate a documented credible pathway to at least 40% renewable energy sourcing within 5 years of commencing operations. Any and all necessary power improvements to service the data center shall be the responsibility of the applicant, not the City of Olive Branch. So the city, the public, will not be responsible to contributing a dime if it comes to, if they need to construct a new power plant or a new power station, for example. That does not fall on the city. Excess power capacity built to serve a data center shall be made available to serve the residents, businesses, and other users in the City of Olive Branch. Sometimes it can be very detrimental to think about data centers as just something negative. You know, there is positivity to them. They don't just serve the purpose of storing the data. Almost everybody in this room today has a cell phone. You know, they're storing this data. We're using computers. We're making this presentation today. This data has to be stored somewhere. The presentation we're doing right now has to be stored somewhere. So there is value for these particular data centers. But sometimes the infrastructure they construct, the capacity there can also be excess. We're trying to make sure that if you have excess capacity, then the city can tap into it to service other residents, to service other businesses that may be available and may be facing power shortage in the city. So let that extra capacity be available to the general public. Decommissioning, this is one element that we had not addressed in the regulations. Before operations begin, every data center operator must provide to the City of Olive Branch an irrevocable letter of credit. Irrevocable. So whether for the life of that data center, that letter of credit is there. Letter of credit of sufficient amount to cover the estimated cost of full site decommissioning, the estimated cost of full site remediation, and outstanding infrastructure commitments in the event the operator ceases operations or becomes insolvent. We do not want to have a situation where for any reason these data centers, if one ever exists in the city, is, they go out of business, and then we have a site out there that it's almost like, some of these gas stations that go out of business, and you have the tanks in the ground, and they become a problem to the general public. We want to be able to have available sufficient letter of credit that they can be decommissioned if we ever get to that particular point in time. So this is in addition, as I did mention, to all the other regulations, the details regarding all the other regulations that you already have in the text and you've been working on for the past 3 months. Staff therefore recommends that the Planning Commission approve and recommends same to the Board of Aldermen that the zoning ordinance of the City of Olive Branch be amended by repealing the language, everything you have struck through in the regulations, and adopting the provisions that are underlined in the concerned sections of the zoning ordinance attached herewith, including the provisions that are just added in this presentation. I should mention that this is what I would call the first line of protection for the city. These regulations can only address certain land use elements of data centers. To expand these regulations beyond some of the land use issues, the city will have to adopt or approve a stand-alone separate ordinance outside of the zoning code. Zoning has particular issues it deals with. If we start going into issues that are not zoning, then a separate ordinance will have to be adopted. So this is intended to provide a first line, call it a first line of defense for the city. And then subsequently, we can work on a bigger ordinance, stand-alone ordinance, that can include many other provisions. If you look at something like enforcement, for example, because this is in the zoning ordinance, there is a standard way already provided in the zoning code for how you enforce any violation of the zoning ordinance. That is included. The moment you begin to change that, then the use becomes targeted, and the law will come down for against the city with regard to that. So this concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and including the discussions that we had last month, also including the additional recommendations. Before I open this up to, or does anybody have any questions for staff? I'm sorry. Okay. So before I open this up to the public, I want to remind everyone that this is a formal public meeting. Support and opposition are welcome through proper testimony at the podium. Cheering, clapping, speaking from the audience, or interruptions are not permitted because they interfere with the record and with everyone's opportunity to be heard. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please avoid repeating prior comments. If your point has already been made, you may simply state that you agree with the prior speaker. At the podium, please provide your name and address for the record. Please address comments to the commission, not to the audience, the applicant, or individual members. And please keep all comments to the item under consideration. I currently have 3 pre-filled out sign-in cards for data centers. Before we go any further, did anybody else fill out a card? All right, once I get through these 3, I'll give you an opportunity. So the first person up, remember when you come up, please make sure you state your name and your address. Emily Herring. Emily Herring, come on down.
I wrote it down because I'll say too much. Good evening. My name is Emily Herring. I live at 7615 State Line Road. That's just over a mile from some of the M1, M2 zone areas. So this is very important to me because of that. First, I want to thank y'all so much for being proactive about the data center development in our community. I use products at data centers every day, so I know the demand is growing and we have to make a plan so that we can be prepared. I read the proposed amendment and I do have some concerns, particularly about the noise levels. The proposal caps noises between 55 and 65 dBA and 70 to 75 dBc. So basically 55, like you said, is going to be like a refrigerator constantly humming, a dishwasher. 75 dBc, which are the low frequency noises that they are beginning to discover is an issue that they didn't realize was going to be a problem, is like sitting in a loud, busy restaurant. In short bursts, that's fine. These noises for longer periods of time are disruptive. For example, I recently bought a dishwasher and I bought a Bosch because I didn't want that just short-term noise of that 50 to 55. I wanted the lower. So even just that little bit in my house was an issue. If I'm in a restaurant for too long, it's very loud, I'm going to use loops like noise-reducing earbuds because it's just too much noise. Now you're saying at just those levels, you want to put that in my yard, basically, because I'm a mile away. So that's where my concern is. I'm grateful that you're looking at the low level frequencies. Even the World Health Organization says 70 of the decibel of the C, long term, 24/7, like we would have it, is too much. It can interfere with your sleep and with your mental health. And so I would like you to evaluate bringing that lower to match with the dBA levels. Another thing that's the biggest worry for me is a loophole. You have a massive loophole. You guys are doing this to prevent a loophole, and you're using the word or. You're saying either they have to meet a dBA level or a dBc level. So basically you're saying either keep the normal frequencies everybody hears at this level, and then you can still have the low rumble noise, that's what South Haven's got, or control the low rumble, but you can be loud all day. By using the word or, you're giving a huge loophole that you know they have such legal ability to go around. I would recommend that you change that loophole, change that to and. Make them meet both standards. Make them meet both standards. That's possible. Lots of people around the country are doing that. Make them meet both standards. And the other thing that I wanted to ask you to do is require real barriers, real specialized acoustic barriers around these noise producing areas. So it doesn't even come out that far. There are places producing acoustic barriers. Amazon facilities around the country are being forced to bring in acoustic barriers to reduce that noise before it ever leaves them. That is a regulation you can put in place. The biggest thing, enforce your monitoring, which I know you guys are going to do. Make sure it's enforced. Don't just say it, mean it, and stick it out. Finally, I would really love for us to hire a highly qualified, independent acoustic engineer to review the guidelines that you guys are putting in place. This guy here has done a great job presenting, but I would just like more to have a highly qualified acoustic engineer to review your proposal before you move forward with it, because they have much more in-depth understanding than what all of us are getting from our study using AI and data. So hire somebody that's done the work in school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley, and I apologize for the last name, Sheed?
Hi, my name is Ashley Scheid. My address is 6303 Darren Drive. So after reviewing the proposed criteria, I am incredibly appreciative that the city has done more homework, more homework than many municipalities have by requiring conditional use permits, noise studies, utility studies, and tiering. However, there are several areas where the ordinance could be substantially strengthened to better protect residents, particularly regarding the distance from neighborhoods, enforcement, and future expansion. First, I'd like to suggest increasing the residential setbacks. Noise from cooling equipment is continuous, not occasional. Unlike factories, these facilities do operate 24/7. A larger setback provides protection, not just from sound, but also from lighting, visual impacts, generator testing, property values, and future expansion. The Planning Commission already discussed increasing setbacks to 2,000 feet during the June meeting because of these concerns. I would request that the Tier 1 data centers move from 500 feet to 1,000 feet minimum. The Tier 2 data centers be moved from 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet minimum, and the very large Tier 3 data centers be moved to 3,000 feet to 5,280 feet, which would be about a mile. Second, I would suggest expanding what counts as residential. One weakness that I did notice, if I understood the 132 pages correctly, was that the setback only applies to AR properties developed with single-family homes. I believe that that means that R1 neighborhoods, R2 planned developments, and future subdivisions may not receive the same protection. And instead, the ordinance could simply state any existing residential subdivision, or residentially zoned property, which closes a major loophole. Third, I would suggest increasing the notification radius. The current proposal is 1,000 feet, and I would recommend that it gets moved to 2,000 feet or 1 mile if it's a Tier 3 data center. As we've obviously learned from South Haven, many people further away can still hear these facilities and be impacted by them. Fourth, I would require a property value analysis before approval. I would ask that you guys require an independent study estimating impacts on nearby residential home values. Fifth, I would suggest strengthening enforcement. This was one of the strongest points that you raised at the last meeting. Right now, violations could eventually result in permit revocation, but that is a lengthy process. Instead, I would suggest considering requiring escalating daily fines, mandatory correction deadlines, suspension of generator testing if violations continue, automatic review after repeated violations, and permit revocation after repeated noncompliance. Sixth, I would suggest real-time monitoring instead of relying on occasional inspections. A lot of cities have started to require continuous sound monitoring, water monitoring, and generator runtime logs, with the data available continuously to the city. I think the biggest improvements that I would recommend is to increase the setback for Tier 3 A1 scale or AI scale data centers to at least half a mile and preferably 1 mile from existing residents or residentially zoned properties, not just for AR properties. I believe that these suggestions would significantly strengthen the ordinance by turning broad studies into enforceable protections while preserving the city's ability to consider projects on a case-by-case basis. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael Scheid?
Hi, my name is Michael Scheid, also at 6303 Darren Drive, and I would like to say I agree with everything my wife had to say, along with the woman that spoke initially. And like she said, appreciate the work that this board and Dr. Song is doing on putting together some criteria on data centers to make sure residents are protected. I did just want to make some recommendations, some call outs specific to water use, since that is a big concern with data centers, as was discussed. And just a couple suggestions for language to include in the conditions. So the first is to require reclaimed water whenever possible. Many newer data centers are using reclaimed wastewater, gray water, and instead of drinking water. So looking to include language such as using potable water, not just for cooling, but using reclaimed water whenever it's reasonably available. The second is to require water recycling. So cooling towers, I think as was discussed either this meeting or last meeting, they waste enormous amounts of water through evaporation. So require closed loop cooling where practical, water reuse systems, and then annual reporting of how much water they've recycled. So this would reduce the strain on our water. The second is to require an independent water study. So I believe right now, currently the applicant submits the utility information. Instead require that the city shall retain an independent engineering consultant paid for by the applicant to review all water and infrastructure studies rather than just relying solely on the developer's consultant. The next point is on reviewing the permit if water exceeds projections. I think there's language in there that the Board of Aldermen will review how much water is being used, and it automatic trigger if it goes above 15%. But I think there is opportunity to strengthen the language to revoke or do a more thorough review of the conditional use permit if that water use does exceed 15%. Also, I think more can be done to protect the municipality from water during a drought, including adding language like during declared water shortages, residential, hospital, fire protection, schools, churches, etc. Their water needs take priority over industrial cooling. Another suggestion is to require groundwater monitoring. So if cooling water or wastewater is stored on site, require that wells be monitored and there's annual testing and that information is made available to the public. Besides that, again, just want to thank the commission and Dr. Song for, thinking about this, taking a long, hard look at this. It's very important. I appreciate you guys looking at this over the last few months. Want to make sure it's not rushed, because this will certainly have long-term impact on the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this agenda item? Come on up.
Takes an old man a minute.
It's okay. We won't start your time yet.
My name is Pat Pennington. I live at 7905 Hickory Cove. I have seen no reference into a study as to how this is going to affect the property values of the people in the area. I'm concerned about that because we know that their property values are going to decrease. Next, I'm concerned about the 40% sustainable energy that they're supposed to come up with in 5 years. I don't know if I can ask questions, but where's the sustainable energy going to come from? You know how they've been doing it? They've been putting up solar panels everywhere. Do we have more room for solar panels? No. We've already used up all our land. There's no more land to do. All we can do is bulldoze what's left, put up solar panels. So there's no way for them to get a sustainable 40% energy. I suggest that the board refer back to the people who initiated this request. We've got more warehouse space for rent than Memphis, Tennessee. They could use that. They do not need to be building new facilities. I understand that. I've been here for over 60 years. So I understand that. But there are other ways of doing this. The data centers put a huge strain on the power and the water. And it also apparently causes a lot of noise. I'm sorry, never been around one, don't want to go near one. I just see all the problems they're causing everywhere else. But I just think there needs to be a study into how this is going to affect the property values of the poor people involved. Because God knows people can't afford to lose the money. And I have to add this. If I'd have had my way, We closed the borders to Olive Branch back in 1970.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all have a beautiful night, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Good evening.
My name is Cynthia Lyle. I live at 7390 Ivy Trails Cove. And I'm so incredibly happy to see how serious the city's taking this. I just have one suggestion, and I might have missed it, but I'm wondering if a 12-month moratorium on any data center application, I know we don't have any, but that would give us the space, the time to get our ordinances in place without feeling rushed. That was just a thought that I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe, I've already got you down for item number 1. Did you? Well, you can't do item 1 during this one. Did you want to come up and talk about this one? No, wait a minute. Okay. All right. Ed, come on down.
Hello, my name is Abigail Hofstadler. I'm actually the Senior Data Analyst for the Army Materiel Commanding General's Office. I'm here today as a local resident, believe it or not. I was born and raised in Olive Branch. And I specialize in data analytics with regards to, well, hardware and software in general, but more specifically data centers. And I wanted to ensure that we had a proper conversation, possibly with regards to modular data centers that can still meet the same requirements.
Did you give your address?
7671 Dupree Cove,
Okay,
Olive
thank you.
Branch, Mississippi.
Thank you. Sorry.
So with regards to modular data centers, it still would meet certain requirements that that Olive Branch is actually seeking. It would not interfere with water. The noise would be far more suppressed than any larger data center would bring to Olive Branch. But that doesn't compress the data computations that would be required to bring in larger industry. We would just be isolating to smaller pods, if you will. Instead of utilizing water, glycol could be used in a seesaw fashion without ever jeopardizing the local water supply for our local constituents. When it comes to the hardware that's installed, there needs to be compliance that's put in place before it's run, because part of the noise that you're dealing with is not just generators, it's also the hums of the servers themselves. And that actually, the reason Amazon is being requested to put in noise dampening is because of the ratio that they are actually putting their servers in rotation. Their rows are coming up and down constantly. And so therefore, when it comes to the noise dampening, right, the insulation purposes can actually be done in a portable fashion. Think like a semi-trailer, right? The lovely gentleman that was just up here was talking about the storage units. Well, there are different factions and different ways to be able to put in a data center and to be able to make it stable for the local community. That's not including the dark fiber that's going to be required to run these data centers, right? Have we talked to the telecommunication companies with regards to the fiber and the requirements for those items as well, and then the inconveniences to the locals that's going to be required to actually bury that cable. My question is if this board would be willing, I would be more than happy to provide my services for free for review, if at any time you'd like to do so.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Oh, so close. Come on down.
Hello, committee, planning committee. Good evening. My name is Pamela Bogan, 7107 Stanley Drive. I think the data centers are the worst thing that y'all can put and Olive Branch. We've seen what happened to South Haven. Nobody here wants it. And the water supply, the air supply, the electricity, so many things. Property value. Who's gonna compensate the people? I'm enraged that our committee is even thinking about a data center. Having people move here is definitely going to deter. Data centers don't give many jobs to the local residents in the long run. Yeah, I propose anybody that votes yes for the ordinance of the data center to go live there and hear the lovely hum 24/7 of hum all day long. I just hope you consider the people of Olive Branch who you guys represent. And I hope that anybody votes for the data center will be elected out. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, now close the public hearing. With that said, I'd like to open it up to members of the commission. I've got some questions and suggestions, but open it up to.
I have just one question right now. Can a municipality impose any sort of 12-month moratorium, as was suggested? I believe that it is, we can't.
Planning Commission can't.
The Planning Commission, okay, is it legal for any municipality?
I'll leave that to the city attorney, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was just my question.
Yeah.
Is that legal? Because I understood that we, according to the Supreme Court, we can't just arbitrarily deny data centers at this point. So I'd like to know the answer to that.
Yeah. Questions down here? Bill?
I just want to make sure, because some of the comments that I heard from the public, I want to make sure my understanding is clear as well. Right now, we have zero protection, and a yes vote gives us protection against these things.
That's correct.
That's my understanding of the vote at this point. I understand people want additions added or subtracted, but my understanding is right now we have zero protection.
I'd like to. I think there's a drafting error in Tier 1, and this is. I think once we get it on the record, we can come back. But drafting error in Tier 1, it says less than 10 megawatts peak electrical demand than 50,000 gallon average daily water demand. It should say less than 50,000 gallons. Also look at the range, or the tiers, the range gaps, to where the columns have a finite number, 250,000, to where if we could change it to Tier 2, say at least X, but less than Y, just for clarification, and then Tier 3 should say greater than Y. Because if somebody came in at 250,000, then it could fall on either one. I would like to say, just to make everyone aware, that with the tiering, each facility is graded based on its highest impact within any one of the zones. I'll come back to what's allowed by right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
that I may not interrupt you, permit me. Could you reiterate what you said about Tier 2?
Yeah.
Were you setting something between a certain range?
Yeah, where we're talking about the tier,
That would be page 7 of the regulation.
who said there was 152 pages? 25? Yes. So if you look at tier 1, or excuse me, tier 2, 50,000 to 250,000 square feet of gross. And then, so a tier 1 is less, I guess it does less than 50, and then 50,000. Okay, you've got, it's covered.
It's covered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Independent verification for hyperscale applications. We've got independent hyperscale applications, $5,000 for independent review. Would it be possible to do $5,000 plus actual professional review costs? Because $5,000 might not cover the entire review. Based on some of the comments regarding water, like to add that we require the applicant to identify potable versus non-potable water. Maximum approved average and peak withdrawals as enforceable CUP conditions. The discussion regarding drought and energy curtailment plans with a confirmation that residential and public safety service has priority during shortages. Separate domestic service and fire flow requirements from cooling demand. I think we covered wastewater discharge, but also require them to provide water availability letters from the actual serving utility. And then add monitoring through dedicated meters accessible to the city. So instead of requiring reports, we can actually go look at the meters. The discussions regarding independent consultants with noise enforcement. One of the questions, and I open this up to the rest of the commission, and this is probably when you get into the CUP, who approves, must the city approve the monitoring locations and testing conditions? And then I'd like to see if we can require immediate interim mitigation or curtailment for noise enforcement. And then verify that it's one of those things, a lot of the concerns have been the city needs to do this, the city needs to do that, the city needs to do this. And we want to, especially when it comes to enforcement. But each one of those enforcements requires, I think there was a request for for us to hire somebody independent to go do it. That's money. It's taxpayer money. Who's going to do the investigation for the noise complaint? And that's, if you're telling us you want to do that, then you're saying, please use my tax dollars for it. And I know that that's not what we want. So we want to make sure that we're looking at who pays for complaint-driven testing, if there's a complaint or concern. One of the, I think the definition of data center energy systems includes systems used during normal operation, but the performance section says generators are limited to backup and emergency use. So we need to clarify if generators can be used. If it's included in the definition, that makes it allowed. If we're using it as in the performance section, generators are limited to backup and emergency use. Somebody brought up the 15%. I'd like to make sure that we have a clarification in there that the 15% increase is based on the approved initial baseline, not a year-over-year or annual incremental changes. And can we put in a timeline for the CUP to expire? So if somebody gets a CUP and they don't build for a year, technology changes, there might be new cooling systems, there could be something new that we've approved. So, and I don't really know what that timeline is. So, you know, throw that out to all y'all. And then one more thing. Oh, and then parceling. I'd like to make sure that we, the tier classification should be based on the cumulative existing and reasonably anticipated build-out of all commonly owned, controlled, operated, and functionally integrated facilities on a contiguous or adjacent parcels, so that we don't have 10 250,000 square feet facilities making up 2.5 million. Parceling. So parceling would be somebody gets, 50 acres, and they do, they get approval, so they avoid the tiering. And so just making sure that the entire parcel is included. And then the last one, where did I put it? I think that'll be all. So, I'll throw that back to staff, sorry.
Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, you got someone?
I just have a couple.
And the comments that have come from the public, some of the issues raised are matters that are already addressed in the regulations themselves. Others are issues that are addressed in the general conditions for a conditional use permit. For example, impact on property values. So every conditional use permit in the city of Olive Branch has to address the property values impact criteria. Every conditional use permit application, not just data centers, every conditional use. So the conditions or the criteria you have before you are in addition to the, 507, 5 general criteria for the conditional use permit. And one of those criteria is impact on surrounding property values. So the applicant, as somebody was saying, you have to do a study, how is this going to impact property values and so on. We've had conditional use permit applications that have come before BZA, and neighborhoods have been able to show that this will have a negative impact. Not just sometimes, you can't just deny an application by saying, it will bring down my property values. You can't just say it. At law, you just can't do that. A judge will overturn that. It's considered arbitrary and capricious. Mm-hmm. You have to have the scientific evidence before you, the study that you've done to prove that this is going to have a negative impact on property values. And when that has been the case, the Board of Zoning Adjustment has acted. That the Board of Zoning Adjustment has acted. In cases where the applicant has been unable to prove, because the burden of proof is on the applicant, where the applicant has been unable to prove, the Board of Zoning Adjustment has acted. So the board doesn't just take these things and rubber stamps them. No. They look into whatever, and staff will also do our own review. We comb through the database, other studies coming from other areas, how this particular use has impacted property values, scientific studies that have been published. We come up with lengthy staff reports when it concerns these conditional uses and present them before the Board of Zoning Adjustment before a decision is made. So that is something which is going to be fully addressed. With respect to the question on timeline for a conditional use permit, when the Board of Zoning Adjustment, when an applicant applies for a conditional use permit, the applicant requests a validity time period for that conditional use permit. Most often, it goes between 5 to 20 years. Most often, it goes between 5 to 20 years. The Board of Zoning Adjustment can reduce it. We have had applications recently in the city where folks are requesting 10 years, and the board says, no, this particular use, we are not yet very sure of what the impact is going to be. So we're only going to allow it for 2 years and then we monitor. If at the end of 2 years we find out that it has all these externalities, we're going to shut it down. So the board has been doing that. They have a lot of powers in their hands the way they operate to ensure they are protecting the public.
And I think my, excuse me, my question is probably more for conditional use permit approved till construction begins. So it's, you know, excuse me, once the conditional use permit is approved, we should have a time, there should be a deadline, or there should be a timeline to construction starting. So, because, you know, if we approve it for 20 years, and they begin 18 years from now, obviously the technology is going to be, you know, much different than where it is now. But, you know, they've got this approved and they've, you know, probably wouldn't want to build it, but then they have that ability to build it based on old technology or old ordinances that we, you know.
That's something we can address very easily. The board permits, I would have a 6 months period there based on the validity of building codes. You know, the same logic that we have in building codes. A building permit is only valid for 6 months. If you don't begin construction 6 months, then the only way you have to come back to the building official and basically go through a process of, you know, renewing that permit. If you cannot renew it, then you have to go back and start afresh. So we can build that into the code. That is doable.
And can you clarify if a CUP is approved on a plot of land, does it transfer if the applicant goes away?
So I will read the zoning ordinance as it is written. Transferability. All conditional use, I'm reading the zoning ordinance. All conditional use permits shall be approved for the originating applicant for a specific location. So that's the zoning code. It's approved for the originating applicant. So if Microsoft comes in and gets you cannot just take it and give to Google. No, that is not allowed for that particular location. And there is the requirement for the closed loop system in terms of water. That has to be closed loop. We do not, the code don't permit anybody to have an open loop system and just be using water in the city anyhow. No, that is required to be closed loop. With respect to moratorium, that's an important question that was asked. Moratoriums are often valid when you have a use existing in the city and the city has studied that particular use and determined that it has some very significant externalities. And you have all the data in front of you, because land use is very specific and location specific. You can't just say, because this is happening in California, therefore I'm going to put this here. Land use questions are very, very location specific. And then you develop your arguments based on your infrastructure, you know, local conditions, realities within your city. And then you can make certain justifications. And of course, that's not something for the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission does not deal with moratorium issues when it comes to the zoning code. That's an issue for the Board of Aldermen to deal with, and which I'll leave it in the hands of the city attorney to address. He has his arguments as to why it can be a very slippery slope when you're dealing with a use, especially a use that in the code right now is kind of open. You know, you got to be a bit careful. I will leave that for the city attorney to address in front of the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, and one of the things that we're responsible for, the commission, is to keeping the city out of legal issues. If we arbitrarily decide something without facts and basics, we open up the city litigation. Litigation costs the city money. It can cost the city money, and they still get to do whatever it was that they wanted to. With the state of Mississippi, because they've created those tax credits for data centers, there's an implied use. And so it's one of the things that we have to protect the city about, is making sure that we're not putting the city into legal jeopardy.
I think one of the suggestions that was made in terms of increasing the tiers, the setback tiers from 500 to 1,000 feet and 1,000 feet to 2,000 feet, 2,000 feet to I think half a mile, for the different tiers as far as the data centers are concerned. Whenever we are using numbers, objective numbers in quotes, you have to be very careful with those numbers. The moment a judge sees a number as being arbitrary, and you cannot justify scientifically why you had that particular number there, you run the risk of that everything you've built being struck down. 500, especially when you've put in other provisions that control the negative externality at the property line, then you have to ask the question, why am I increasing this? You know, you can have your 2,000 feet. There is a justification for that. And we have scientific justification for that. You can have 1,000 feet. The moment you begin to increase it to a certain number, you have to make sure it's just not a number you're just throwing out there arbitrarily. So if the purpose, for example, is to control noise, just giving an example, the purpose is to control noise, and you already have in the code that at the property line, your maximum noise level is 45 decibels, then you have to ask the question, why are you then requiring a quarter mile? What do you achieve? If the quarter mile is for property values, for example, what is your evidence that beyond 2,000 feet, you're going to have a crisis with property values? So we have been able to build a scientific evidence to justify the numbers we have in here, and I will be hesitant just throwing numbers, out there. I'll be cautious. I'll be cautious. Again, and this is the first level of defense for the city. This is the first level of defense. Eventually, when we gather more data, there may be more data out there to justify the quarter mile. If we have more data, we can always come back and amend. But I would like to see, if I'm going to go before the board and recommend a quarter mile, there has to be scientific evidence to justify that quarter mile. There has to be studies that have been done showing that in a quarter mile, unless you go to quarter mile, you're going to have this problem. Without that, I'll be a bit hesitant. We can view all of this, and you have one lawsuit that brings everything down.
Can I ask a follow-up on that? One of the comments we had was a request about our notification area. If we're talking about consistencies in numbers, if our setback is 2,000, but our notification is only 1,000, that would seem to be ripe for litigation as well. Why the inconsistency in those numbers?
That is a good area where the Planning Commission, you can require that.
Yeah.
Initially, I think, you had that consistency. So generally in the code, we will provide notices to all owners of property for a rezoning, for example, and a conditional use permit, generally for all conditional use permits. We provide notices to owners of property within 500 feet. I think the first ordinance draft that was proposed before you had notification for 1,000 feet because the separation distance was 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. So what you have now is an oversight where we have created these different tiers, but we have not linked the two. So I agreed with Planning Commissioner William Jones. We can make that amendment. Yeah. If you have a 2,000 feet, then let's have a 2,000 feet notification. If you have 1,000 feet, let's have a 1,000 feet notification. There you have a rational nexus that is justifiable for why you're doing that.
Yeah, I agree. Also, the resident was correct that it said it's but only applicable to AR property developed with single-family homes. And that's on page 27. All of them say, page 26, if you're reading the numbers on the bottom, setbacks, all of them say applicable to AR property developed with single-family homes. I think we should change that to residential. You guys watching the sausage getting made? Right, we've already closed public comment. Sorry, man.
Mr. Chairman, can you call my attention to that particular section again, please?
Setbacks, page 26 of 152, or page 7 of 27 on the document. Tier 1 data centers, subsection or location, subsection B, location, I, setbacks, A Tier 1 data center with no diesel generators, gas turbines, et cetera, 500 feet from all lot lines of schools, hospital, childcare, and residential use and residential zone properties, but only applicable to AR property developed. Okay. So the exception is that if there's no single-family homes on the AR property, then AR is excluded from the setback.
No.
All right.
AR is a residentially zoned,
And so then we need some, to clarify that, because it does say religious institutions and residentially used and residential zone properties, but only applicable to AR property developed with single-family homes. It's the bottom of each paragraph, A, B, C, and D.
Yes, I'm trying to figure out what the problem is so I can address it. That is not saying that if a piece of property is zoned AR, then it will not have the minimum setback.
So, but is it saying that only AR property with single-family homes on it?
AR properties, sometimes in the city, you have AR property that is used like a holding zone. So you have 20, 30 acres. Sanders Farm, for example, is about 700 acres. This is a piece of property that may be zone AR, and there's no structure on it. The first part will protect AR zone property and residentially zoned properties, because AR property is residentially zoned. When you have the second part is adding, more teeth to the first part. If you have a house on that residentially zoned property and that AR property, then it's even more protected. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's,
Okay.
I mean, if we,
I'll clarify that.
Yeah.
I'll clarify that.
I think the question is the language. If it said and, instead of but only, if it said and AR property developed with a single
Single family, yes.
residential, that would clear up
Yes.
that confusion. The but only, I think, is
Yes,
what.
that is a word. That covers, yes, I've clarified that.
got it.
Thank you.
All right, Janet.
So going into the language here, one of the comments was, is it possible to eliminate the or and change it to and, so that the applicant must meet both of the noise standards with regard to 75 dBCs? Is that something that we could do, change that from or to use and, so that they are required to meet both?
Yes, ma'am. And that is actually advantageous to the public.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
the
it's louder.
that takes care of your low frequency noise. And if you actually go in the noise section, further down in the noise section, it requires that they provide us data addressing that low frequency noise. That is the silent you get in the background. So I already noted that,
Thank
and
you.
it's taken care of.
And then I have one other thing. You addressed my question about the tiers, so thank you, the increasing on the tiers. This isn't huge, but on page 9 of the draft review notes, section 2 or II, I'd like to change it rather than highly recommended that the data center operator schedule and attend a neighborhood meeting with residents to describe the project and the proposed sound mitigation aspects. I'd like to change that to it is required rather than highly recommended but not required. I just think it's important that people who are coming in to make such a huge impact on our city need to at least have a neighborhood meeting, maybe several adjoining neighborhoods. So is that something that we can do too?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
You had it recommended instead of required because this is a conditional use permit. And generally for conditional use permits, we recommend, if it's a PD, for a zoning rezoning, then that is required in the zoning ordinance. Generally, for conditional use permits, we would strongly advise the applicant, if you want to have this passed, you need to have a discussion with the neighborhood. So if the city believes, if the planning commission believes that this has such a huge significance as you have mentioned, you can make it a requirement. Yeah,
Thank you.
that is not. And I have amended to make it a requirement. Staff's recommendation, therefore, will be that the planning commission moves this forward. All the comments that you have mentioned, all the changes that you have asked that be made, I'm going to make all those changes before I put this in front of the board of aldermen. I strongly, strongly ask the recommend that the planning commission moves this forward to provide this city some protection. Let us not be late and regret it because we are trying to get perfect.
I'll break myself in. I'll make a motion
We have a motion to approve.
to approve,
We have a motion to approve.
subject to the changes.
Yes.
Subject to all changes discussed and agreed upon by the board and suggested by city staff. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Diane Sanger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion and recommendation passed. All right, number 2, in old business, consideration of an application of the final plat of the Williams subdivision submitted by Greg and Tammy Williams, property owners. The request is to create a single-family residential lot of 2.64 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned AR, Agricultural Residential District, and is located on the east side of Pleasant Hill Road North, approximately 1,175 feet north of College Road, known as 4204 Pleasant Hill Road. This was tabled to this date at the meeting of June 9, 2026. Can we get the staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Y'all have seen this before. This is a final plat for Mr. Williams, Mr. and Mrs. Williams. The subject property has been revised to 2.64 acres. As you can see, the site is on Pleasant Hill Road North. There's 1,175 feet to College Road intersection toward the south, and Margaret Manor is up here toward the north. A quick analysis, the plan has been revised. It is in the AR Agricultural Residential Zoning District. As stated previously, it's a 1 plus or minus 2.64 acre lot. The land use character is rural estate. It does comply with all bulk regulations. Gas, water, and fire hydrants are present, and the lot is presently serviced by a private septic system. It is noted that Pleasant Hill Road North is a section line road that does require an 80-foot right-of-way. So the staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve of the final plat for the Williams subdivision and recommend same to the Board of Aldermen, subject to the following. And we have 4 conditions here. Of note, one small condition, number 4, is to add the current FEMA floodplain panel number to the plat, and note that if said parcel lies within a regulatory floodplain or not, it doesn't, but that should be added. I think the applicant is here. I don't know if he has anything to add, but that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, staff. Any questions for staff? Real quick question. Do we know, why was it tabled to today?
There was some discussion regarding the right-of-way width. We consulted with the city engineer, and 80 feet was determined to be adequate.
All right, thank you.
So what is the
actual footage of the right-of-way now that you've come to?
The actual footage right now is 40 feet
40 feet?
from center line.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Applicant, if you'd like to present.
Yeah, I'd just like to, that's all I can say. Like I said, I'm Greg Williams, the owner of the property, and I appreciate, like the commission letting us table it, because there was they were discussing about it going from 80 to 106 feet. So we had a very productive meeting, got it back to the 80 feet, and then also just appreciate the staff. And I just made it, if y'all had any other questions, and the other concern I had was not just for our property, but future planning. And we got to meet with the city planner and provide alternatives to take Pleasant Hill Road from Church Road down to Lauder Road and make it straight, so it is more like a section line versus real curvy, and there's no structures in that alternative. So we just appreciate the commission, appreciate the planning staff to meet with us, and I'm just here if you have any other questions.
Anyone have any questions of the applicant? Okay. Because this is a final plat, there's no requirement for public hearing. I open it up to the commission for questions, comments, suggestions, and a motion.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Williams subdivision and recommend the same to the Board of Aldermen, subject to those 4 conditions.
We have a motion to approve by Ms. Lewis. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Mark Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, down to new business. Consideration of an application to amend the project text for Margaret Manor at Robinson Crossing submitted by Bobby Britton, Dabs Cannabis Dispensary, on behalf of property owner Manveer Singh, Singh Development Incorporated. The subject property is Suite 125 at 5025 Church Road East within Zone 8 of the Marguerite Manor at Robinson Crossing Zone PUD, Plan Unit Development, and is located on the south side of Church Road East, just east of Pleasant Hill Road North. The request is to add medical cannabis as a permitted use in this unit. Can we have a report from staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to, before I begin my presentation, I'd like to, as we discussed earlier, I know the applicant is here to give us a brief presentation after staff presentation. Oh, sorry about that. So the applicant is here to do a brief presentation after staff's presentation. Moving along, I'll give you the location. The location for this application here is Church Road East. You can see it's running east-west, and Pleasant Hill Road at this point is running north-south. Here's the intersection of Church Road East and Pleasant Hill Road. This is located upon the subject property in Suite 125, which is upon Lot 1B, right here, and 5025 Church Road East. The Suite 125 is designated by a green rectangle here. Margaret Manor at Robinson Crossing Planned Unit Development was approved and readopted. It was readopted by the Board of Aldermen in 2017. As I stated before, Suite 125 is on Lot 1B, Zone 8. There are adjacent land uses within this strip center, and I'll go down from east to west. There is a restaurant. You can see it right here on this inset. A vape shop right here. A nail salon right here. A barber shop in the second picture. A vacant space, of which is the subject of this discussion, this presentation, an insurance office, and a liquor store, finally, on the most westernmost portion of the strip center. So moving along, I'd like to point out that the purpose of planned unit developments is to provide communities that provide a full range of residential types, as well as certain commercial, office, or light industrial uses that serve the inhabitants consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I'd like to also discuss Mississippi state law and associated zoning provisions of the city of Olive Branch. Mississippi state law does require that cannabis dispensaries cannot be located within 1,000 feet of the nearest property boundary line of any school, church, or child care facility. State law also requires strict security measures limiting access to medical cannabis, which deters crime and makes dispensaries more compatible with surrounding uses. The applicant has submitted this survey right here with a radius of 1,000 feet. It does not include any schools, churches, or child care facilities, although it does include some residential properties right here toward the southeast. Mississippi state law states that municipalities may designate which local zoning districts are allowed by right to have cannabis dispensaries. The Margaret Manor at Robinson Crossing project text does not include medical cannabis dispensary in any zone, which would be the areas of the PUD. This particular planned unit development designates them as zones, okay, which this is in zone 8. Medical cannabis dispensaries may be added to the permitted use portion of a PUD's project text on a case-by-case basis under state law and City of Olive Branch ordinances. So, next question is, are the requested modifications consistent with the standards and criteria in section 14, which is the planned unit development section of the zoning ordinance? I'll refer to the future land use map. The subject property is designated as neighborhood commercial on the future land use map. You can see here it is right here. Neighborhood commercial designations in the Comprehensive Plan 2040 are located near residential land uses, as you can see right here. The function of neighborhood commercial designations is to provide convenience and reduce trip lengths and congestion on arterial and collector roadways. All right, so this is important here. This is the most important part. The general intent and purpose of the Margaret Manor planned unit development and the commercial sub-district zone 8. The general statement summary within the PUD's project text is to create a sense of place. Article 2, Section F states that this sense of place will reflect sensitivity, enhance surrounding properties, and encourage the highest quality development of adjacent properties. It is debatable whether the proposed amendment would further enhance the surrounding area, as was the intent of permitted uses in the project text. The applicant has not provided substantial evidence demonstrating that this enhancement function will be met if the proposed amendment were approved. Moving along, we'll talk about the compatibility with surrounding area and infrastructure adequacy. The applicant suggests that the addition of a medical cannabis dispensary would provide a valuable health care related service, support commercial investment, create local employment opportunities, and contribute to the continued growth and vitality of the area. The staff notes that land use compatibility is different uses or activities which operate in harmony and without conflict. The dispensary would be in a commercial node. The amendment concerns only the building within a building without effective scale, circulation, accessibility, etc. of the site. And there's no impact on infrastructure or access to roadways is anticipated. So the next step would be that the Planning Commission's recommendation will be forwarded to the Board of Aldermen for their consideration. Staff does have two options. Option number one in the staff recommendation is, option one is upon the Planning Commission's finding that the applicant has not demonstrated that a medical cannabis facility would enhance surrounding properties and/or would serve the inhabitants of the districts consistent with the comprehensive plan and/or would create a sense of place within Margaret Manor at Robertson Crossing, deny the request for a project text amendment at Suite 125, 5025 Church Road East. Or option two, upon the Planning Commission's finding that the applicant has demonstrated that the medical cannabis facility would enhance surrounding properties, would serve the inhabitants of the districts consistent with the comprehensive plan, create a sense of place within Margaret Manor at Robinson Crossing, and be a use compatible with the overall planned unit development uses, approve the request for a project text amendment at Suite 125, 5025 Church Road East. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? I want to do the applicant's video.
I think the applicant's here to.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Amy Silcio. I'm representing DABS tonight. We currently have a retail location at 11201 Old Goodman Road here in Olive Branch. I am the Vice President of Human Resources and Development, so bear with me. I'm used to speaking to employees about compliance, not the city, but we'll get through it. So I have carefully reviewed both the staff report and the original project text before coming before you today. The staff report, as we just went over, notes that the additional evidence demonstrating how this amendment would enhance Margaret Manor would assist the commission in its decision, and I appreciate that observation, and that's exactly what I hope to do for you today. This hearing is not about whether Mississippi should have a Mississippi or a medical cannabis program. This decision was already made for us by the state of Mississippi. The question before this commission is whether DABS enhances Margaret Manor while remaining consistent with the original vision of this planned unit development. And I respectfully believe the evidence demonstrates that we do. Excuse me. The original project text lists several requirements for businesses, provides supporting neighborhood services, enhance surrounding property, reflects sensitivity to adjacent land uses, encourage the highest quality development, and create a sense of place. And we just went over those in the report. Rather than telling you about DABS, I'd like to demonstrate how we satisfy each one of those. As far as serving the neighborhood residents, we call them patients, as they are considered by the Mississippi State Department of Health. All of our patients are required to receive a recommendation from a licensed physician or a certified nurse practitioner. They must also meet a qualifying condition, and they have to be approved by Mississippi State Department of Health. DABS already serves more than 1,000 patients alone in Olive Branch. And that's just Olive Branch. That's not all of the other surrounding areas that come to Olive Branch. That's just our patients who live in Olive Branch itself right now. Approximately 85% of these patients are of the baby boomer generation, my parents included. These are patients who are older, suffering with chronic debilitating conditions, and face serious, if not terminal illnesses, many of them. So as far as the amendment goes, providing convenient access closer to home fulfills the comprehensive plan's goal of reducing trip lengths for these people, for these citizens, and for these patients. The project text already allows for healthcare and retail use. I ask that you would keep one thing in mind. as when this project text was created, which was, I believe, 2017, the Mississippi Medical Cannabis Program did not exist. This program was not adopted until 2022. So I ask that you take that into consideration for this amendment, because at the time, we did not have a legal medical cannabis program. So serving qualified patients closer to home is another way that DABS can enhance Margaret Manor. Professional, healthcare-focused storefronts that are clean, attractive, and secure is another way that we can enhance Margaret Manor. Could you put the picture up, please? I wanted to show a few examples of our current locations. We are a Mississippi-owned, soon-to-be 27-store company throughout our great state. This is our Brandon location. Different cities have different requirements as far as the storefronts are concerned, and we are more than happy to oblige any requirements, by that city, whatever they put forth, as far as participating and being a member of that community. You can go to the next one. This is Olive Branch. We actually are sandwiched in between several restaurants, which are fantastic. We work very well with them. And as a matter of fact, our security systems have helped 2 of those locations with some issues that they had with security, burglaries, theft, things like that. So we do enjoy being a part of this community already and hope that we can continue to do so. Next one. This is our Byhalia location. As you can see, all of our storefronts are very clean. They're landscaped. You cannot see into any of our lobbies. They're all mirrored, so kids cannot see in, and we do not advertise as such as well. Next one. And this is our Hernando location. We opened this up in January. The city of Hernando also has stipulations on what can be on the windows. We keep it very professional. We do not put a bunch of neon signs in the windows. We list exactly what the store is, and we keep it very simple and professional. So moving forward, I just wanted to give you a demonstration of what our storefronts do look like in case you haven't had a chance to see it. We do have, as part of this, forward-facing monitors in our stores. In each of our stores, our monitors face the patient, so they see everything in their transaction. We're a very transparent company, and we want our patients involved in their health care from the beginning to the end. We also provide the highest wages in this industry in Mississippi. We have professionals who work, and if you could flip to the next screen, please. It's kind of small, but this is our executive team. Our 2 owners, Bobby Britton and Tony Wallace, are at the top. We also have a senior vice president of operations, myself, vice president of human resources and development, and then we also have 4 directors over each region of our stores. So we have a north, 2 central, and a southern region, and we have a director who audits each of their stores every month to make sure they are in compliance with not only the state regulations, but also our policies and procedures, that we have a book about this thick of DABS SOPs. I've written most of them myself. So this is just another way. In addition to, DABS has donated over $31,000 across the state to helping all of our communities. Each of our stores is given an allotment every year to participate for community outreach. We've used these to donate to police departments, fire departments, cancer fundraisers, blood drives, the animal shelters, community cleanups, charitable partnerships, so on and so forth. We also participate in all the chambers of commerce in every city that we are in as well. And this is just another way that DABS can enhance Margaret Manor. In addition, We have committed to providing landscaping, not only for our storefront, but for the entire shopping center at that location, which also enhances the attractiveness of the shopping center and brings people from other areas to it as well. So that's another way we're looking to enhance Margaret Manor. The amendment changes is only for permitted use. We're not changing anything about the building, architecture, parking, circulation, anything like that. As I stated, healthcare and retail are already permitted uses. Please keep in mind that DABS operates under one of the most comprehensive regulatory systems administered by the State Department of Health. So not only are we governed by the State Department of Health, we also are overseen by ABC, who can come in at any point in time to do an audit or an inspection. We get yearly inspections from them. We have never failed one, and since we've been open. And now, since cannabis has been rescheduled, we are now governed by the DEA. And we're so lucky to have our first audit by the DEA this morning at 10:30, which I'm very happy to say we passed. We had everything ready and available for them. We didn't know what to expect, but everything was in order. I know that there's already a vape shop in the center, and I would also like to bring to your attention that vape shops are allowed to carry cannabis, aka hemp products, as long as they are under 0.3 THC in their stores without any state or regulatory oversight. When you bring DABS in, you're getting compliance. We're going to make sure all of the product there is state tested, also has a certificate of analysis, and is safe for all of our citizens and patients. I do want to share one short story with you as far as compliance and how we work with our local, state, federal now officials. We recently, like 2 weeks ago, I think maybe a week and a half ago, we had a patient come into our Hernando store. State law requires that that patient that's in front of us match the card that they're giving us. We scan those cards, and that picture, as well as their driver's license, has to match, all three. The patient card was a picture of a horse. And although we found it funny, it was not the patient. He even pulled it up in his state portal and showed us, look, this was my expired card. This is my new card. They approved the horse. We still did not take it because it's not what the state required. We don't just take people just to make a sale. We take patients who are in compliance with the law. The next day we did report the patient because they were out of compliance, and if we don't report them, then we're just as culpable as well. So we did report the patient. I don't think they were very happy about it, but I just want to use this as an example of how we operate. We take all compliance very seriously, and we do work with our city, local city, state, and federal officials in every way we possibly can. I'll skip ahead and get to the big points as quickly as possible. So in addition to these things, we do create high-quality careers. Like I said, we do have the highest wages in Mississippi as far as the medical cannabis industry is concerned. We bring long-term investments. We're a Mississippi-owned company. We don't plan on going anywhere else. And we do this by supporting our neighboring businesses through beautification and destination traffic. Investing in people and the community is another way that DABS enhances Margaret Manor. Our security system is the last thing I would like to talk about. We have advanced security surveillance systems in all of our locations that are outside and inside. We have committed to extending that camera coverage beyond just our storefront, but to also include the shopping center and all the way to the corner where Pops is. I understand Pops was recently the victim of a burglary or robbery, which is awful. We would like to help make that corner more secure for everyone. All right, I think we got through it.
Thank you.
So at the beginning of my remarks, I referenced that the staff's report observation that additional evidence demonstrating enhancement would assist the commission. I hope today's presentation has demonstrated that DABS fulfills the original vision of Margaret Manor. We enhance the surrounding property, we provide neighborhood services, we support the highest quality development, we create a stronger sense of place. We invest in people, we invest in communities, we invest in public safety, and we invest in Olive Branch. Thank you very much for your time, and we respectfully ask for your approval.
Thank you. All right,
Any
any
questions?
questions for the applicant?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
How many doctor's offices in Olive Branch are capable of writing prescriptions for this?
So currently, I don't have a specific number off the top of my head. I know in the area alone, there's at least 4 or 5 of them. In Olive Branch specifically, I know at least of 3 off the top of my head, but I don't want to speak on fact on that. Just,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
So you've got a location in Olive Branch right now and one in Hernando as
Yes, sir.
well, right? So are there any other counties in Mississippi where you've got 3 locations in one county setting?
Yes, sir. Actually, our entire central region is comprised of 13 stores that are all within at least 30 minutes of each other, some within 15 minutes of each other. It's our goal to provide convenient access to our patients who need it.
Do you happen to know how many cannabis facilities there are in Olive Branch now? I know that we've had some new ones in the last year and a half.
Sure, I can tell you. I believe there are 5, including us, currently. The majority of them being towards the east side of the city.
Right. And how, are most of your facilities in the state in neighborhoods like these buildings that you showed us? Are they in neighborhoods like this proposed facility is?
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, the majority of them are just like this in a shopping center, in new development. Our Hernando stores in the newly, developing area of Hernando. There are over 4,000 medical cannabis patients in DeSoto County itself. I don't have a breakdown. The state doesn't give us a breakdown as far as city goes, but with 4,000 medical cannabis patients in DeSoto County, that's a lot of cannabis patients that Olive Branch could be serving.
Thank you.
And like I said, we already have 1,000 patients with Olive Branch addresses. That's not including all of the patients who come from all over to shop with us. Thank you. Oh, and my birthday's tomorrow, so if that helps. Thank you.
Joe Crawford, 4693 East Dublin Circle. Would it be discourteous of me, disorderly, or contemptuous of me to ask you a question? You, Dion? Yes, it's about values. She is promoting her values, what is valuable to her company, and you sat there and listened to her presentation about her values, what she values. So can I ask you a question? No, I just want to ask you a question. It's about values. You see, she comes in here and promotes her values, which cannabis would not have been dreamed of in Olive Branch 10 years ago. Nobody would have dreamed that today we would be standing here considering a cannabis dispensary. And that's because we are not axiological. Our values are eroding. Do you know what axiology is, Dion? And you call yourself an economist, someone involved in the economy, an economist. Am I saying it wrong? You can scoff at me all you want. I got a speaking impairment. You can laugh at me. You like laughing at people with speaking impairments? You're grinning at me. Our values are eroding. They get to come in here and promote their values. But why can't I come in here and promote my values? I value wisdom. I value intelligence. And I'm not allowed to come in here and promote my values. What are values contingent on? Do you know that, Dion? Values are contingent on civility and order. Where did all this order, where all this civility come from? It came from wisdom. It came from our founding fathers deciding on an ultimate value, and we done forgot that ultimate value. It's like buried, and we're fixing to pay for it. God bless you.
All right. I close public comment, or close the public hearing, and I open it up to the commission for comment, questions, suggestions, or motion.
Just housekeeping on, and this is a question, I guess, for staff. I don't know if it makes a difference, but on page 68 of the packet, I think that the address has actually been extrapolated. It's listed as 5052 instead of 5025.
Oh, we can correct that.
Any other questions? I'll ask for a motion. And it can be a motion to approve or deny.
Since we do not have any opposition from the neighborhood, not one person here who is opposed to this, and we have had an excellent presentation about this particular facility, and because we do not have any cannabis dispensaries on the western side of Craft Road at this time. I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to make a motion that they have demonstrated that this facility would be of benefit to the inhabitants, the patients of this district area, and so I'd like to make the motion to approve.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve from Janet Lewis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Diane Sanger. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
We have one opposed. Mr. William Jones. The motion passes. Thank you. All right, new business number 2, consideration of an application for the first revision of St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church and Cemetery subdivision submitted by Lewis McCree, Civil Source LLC, on behalf of Pastor Eric Lee, St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church property owner. The request is to create the 1.15 plus or minus acre Lot 3 from the existing 5.89 plus or minus acre Lot 1. The subject property is zoned AR Agricultural Residential District and is located at the northwest corner of Pleasant Hill Road and Goodman Road, known as 5960 Pleasant Hill Road. Can I get the staff report? Thank you for the staff report. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Is the applicant present?
Hello. Greg Russell with Civil Source, 2696 Donwood Circle North in South Haven. I don't have anything to add. It's, like you said, it's just a simple division. It was divided out before. They combined it for some reason, and now they want to divide it back out. That's all it is.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Is there a reason to divide it when they already own it like this?
They didn't get into details with me. They combined them at first for mortgage purposes, which I don't think they had to do, but they were advised to do that, and they want that parsonage separate, and they didn't explain why. They just wanted it cut back out. So I guess that mortgage is no longer existed. They didn't say.
Is the front parking in that parsonage area, is that gravel or asphalt there?
It's part of it's I don't know right off the top of my head. Part of it's just asphalt, but there is some gravel around there. Excuse me. You caught me without my glasses too. Yeah, that little part in front of the parsonage is gravel.
Okay.
And no, I'm sorry. It is gravel.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is anybody here to speak in favor or against this application? All right. Bring it back to the commission for comments, suggestions, discussions, and a motion.
I'll move to approve if there's no discussion.
We have a motion to approve from William Jones. Is a second?
Second.
We have second. A second from Mark Long. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. New business number 3, consideration of
Mr.
an
Chairman.
applica- Oh, I'm sorry.
You've been sitting for 2 hours. If you
You
want
need
to
a
take a
break?
break.
All right. We'll take a break. 6 minutes? Yeah. All right. All right, I appreciate everybody's patience with us as we take a small recess. We'll return from recess. We'll start with new business number 3, consideration of an application for a zoning map amendment submitted by Greg Smith, Civil Link, on behalf of property owner Dane Stovall, James Allen Stovall, Revocable Living Trust, property owner. The request is to rezone 50.87 plus or minus acres from AR, Agricultural Residential District, to R1, Single Family Residential District, for the purpose of creating Almadale Retreat, a single-family residential subdivision. The subject property is located on the south side of DeSoto Road at the Marshall County line, approximately 0.86 plus or minus miles east of Center Hill Road. Can we get the staff report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will take you to where we are. If you'll follow my cursor here, we've left the City Hall, and we are now at Center Hill Road going east on 302. We are coming up to where you'll see 302 Express, and you're almost to the Marshall County line. Okay, this is Center Hill Road, DeSoto Road. So here's our subject property. I brought us out 302 because there's an entrance off of this, proposed entrance off of this subdivision. Take us down Center Hill Road because off of DeSoto Road there is an entrance, and there you'll see one of your conditions. It's the engineering memo to add a decel lane, so you'll take a look at that, please. We will work our way through this 58.7 acres, again on the north side of 302, annexed in 2001. You've got north side of this property is DeSoto Road and some farmland. You've got the west side of this property being Marshall County, vacant farmland, a lot of timber on that side of it. And to the east is more of your rural estate. Just there's some lots in here. The Payne Lane comes up through here, so people's driveways access off of this side. Again, this didn't actually state it, but there is 2 applications. We will be talking AR to R1 conventional zoning to start with, and then we will be talking about the preliminary plat. That's the next agenda item. That will be to subdivide the property into 86 single-family lots, 3 common open spaces, and along with public right-of-way. So let's look at this just for a moment. Here we go. All right, so here is the vacant piece of property. What I did here is I took the original zoning. This is the zoning it is now, AR. Behind this plat here, we'll look at the plat coming up, but I just want to throw the plat on top of it. You can see how it's shaped. This is the entrance off of the other subdivision I was telling you about. Here's DeSoto Road. But as you can see behind this layer, neighborhood suburban. So future land planning, it does meet future land planning, and the street layout is designed to eliminate straightways. You'll see a couple of curves I tried to designate in here, and I think those are neat. So we'll go on and look at the property. So the comprehensive plan was recently updated in 2022. It designates the property, as I said, neighborhood commercial, or suburban neighborhood, excuse me. In 2021, the property was annexed into the city of Olive Branch. So right here is the property. As I tried to show you, this is as it's zoned now, and this as it's zoned suburban neighborhood on the future land map. So here it is. That's the little icon. Okay. So you can see here, we'll jump right into our rezoning criteria. I've got 2 maps in front of you. The one on the left is 2006. The one on the right is 2026. What I did is I went ahead and outlined the retreat and the 2 stores. You've got 302 Express, and you've got the new Dollar General here. You've also got Action Pest Control and a church here. And then back over this way, as I noted on my first slide, you've got the new Olive Branch Fire Department going in here. Center Hill Farms on down the way. So rezoning criteria, as you can see, the applicant does not claim that the AR zoning was established in error. Staff finding is the property's remained agricultural residential since the 80s, was annexed in 2021. There is no evidence to support that the finding, the zoning classification was a mistake. Character of the area, 2.2. So has the character of the area changed? That's a rezoning criteria, as you can see from the maps. Population has increased that way since 2006. Utility infrastructure has moved out that way. City infrastructure with the public sewer collection system is ongoing with DeSoto County Regional Utility Authority, DECRUA. The investments support the area's transition from AR and to suburban neighborhood. So the site is adjacent. This is the retreat here. These are R20 lots. Those are to the south. It reflects a pattern of established R1 zoning, provides an appropriate transition for the recent commercial growth, as we just talked about, along Highway 302 here. It also demonstrates the evolving character, and staff does find that with the physical infrastructure, the development changes to the area, the property, we would recommend AR to R1 as a zoning amendment. Going on to the criteria number 3, rezoning criteria 3, a public need for the rezoning exists. What we've got in front of us again here, future land use map. We did find that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed rezoning does support the 2040 comprehensive plan, which designates the site as suburban neighborhood. We also find it meets housing demand. The request responds to the continued demand for single-family housing in Olive Branch and also all of DeSoto County. We've noted on this end there is lots of building going on. Olive Branch is seeing exponential growth in this area. Efficient use of infrastructure, again, existing and ongoing investments in public sewer and wastewater infrastructure provide the capacity to support this type of development that is encouraged more efficient land use. A couple things here. We also find it promotes orderly growth. Rezoning from AR to R1 facilitates, again, as we noted, with the future land use map, that it does facilitate future growth and expansion, advances public interest. We find that the proposal maximizes the public infrastructure investments, and our conclusion is staff finds the request is consistent with the future land use map and comprehensive plan, that the proposed Almondale Retreat development helps address the city's identified single-family housing needs. Taking you up to our next steps here. So after you all, we would ask that this application move forward to the Board of Aldermen for final decision on the rezoning. The companion item on this agenda is the preliminary plat for 50.87 acres of the subdivision, which is designed in accordance with R1 zoning district regulations. So if you would please continue to read the staff recommendation, I will finish this out. If it's approved, it would be authorized the developers submit civil and construction plans for the installation of road utilities and stormwater facilities. Approval and recordation of the final plat would be required before a building permit could be issued for single-family homes. So we've got two here based on the aforementioned findings that the rezoning criteria have been met, namely that 1 and 2, and that would be the extent of staff's presentation. Ask for any questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions for staff? Is the applicant here to speak?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll try to be as brief as I can. My name is Greg Smith. I'm with Civil Link Engineering, and I'm here representing the applicant tonight on that. The staff did a fine job of covering this, so I won't rehash what he's already said, but I would like to make a few notes, make a few comments. Number one, we are following the comp plan, 2040 comp plan, as he stated, which designates suburban neighborhood from 6,000 feet lots up to 30, and we're in that comfortable middle. We're proposing anywhere from 15,000 up to 30,000 feet lots, depending on how you look at it and which lots you look at. We feel like we have met the burden of public needs simply by the virtue of your comp plan call for this type of development in that area. That's probably as good an argument as any, given that with all the demand for housing these days that you see continually day by day. And the other part of this would be the changes in the neighborhood, which are upgrades to utility infrastructure by both the City of Olive Branch and the DeSoto County Regional Utility Authority to provide for proper and adequate sewer to this area. So we feel like we have a piece of property that's primed for this, and it meets all the current recommendations by your long-range plan. And I'll hush up and answer any questions y'all have. Be glad to at this time.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone, before I open this up to public comment, I want to remind everyone that this is a formal public meeting. Support and opposition are welcome through proper testimony at the podium. Cheering, clapping, speaking from the audience, or interruptions are not permitted because they interfere with the record and with everyone's opportunity to be heard. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. Please avoid repeating prior comments. If your point has already been made, you may simply state that you agree with the prior speaker at the podium. Provide your name and address for the record. Please address comments to the commission, not to the audience, applicant, or individual members, and keep comments to the item under consideration. I currently have 6 speaking cards. I'll go through those. Before we go to those, I'm going to assume that they're all in opposition. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for this application? All right. All right, so we'll start with Ben Hartsfield. Ben? All right, so now we're down to 5. Marvin Cotton. Come on down.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marvin Cotton. I stay at 14844 Am Hill Drive, Olive Branch. And it's not more that I'm against it, but I'm really concerned because it's going to affect my house is positioned right. If you in my backyard, if you look out my backyard, that's where the subdivision is proposed to be at. And my main concern is that how close would it be to my home once they start building? And also, I have a retention pond right beside my home. And currently, right now, when that water overflows from their retention pond, it goes into that proposed neighborhood. My concern is how are they going to, compensate for that? And also, I have currently there's a barbed wire fence that separates my backyard and the agricultural field currently right now. And I want to know if they're going to propose a retention wall or what are going to be the future plans going forward. And I think that might be. And also, yes, my backyard, it kind of slopes upwards. And my concern is that once they start building, how is that going to affect the flow of the water when it rains or whatever? So that's really, really my main concern is about that.
Thank you, sir. Juanita Payne? Juanita Payne. Willie Payne. Jeffrey L. Payne. All right. Dr. Payne's at the left.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey L. Payne. I live at 14990 DeSoto Road. As previously stated, I'm not against it. I'm just concerned as to how many homes that they're going to put within this proposed area. And I saw on the screen where it said each lot was 1.67 per unit, but my math didn't compute to me as being able to put 86 houses within 50 acres. Because, I mean, if you're going to do 1.67, you can't do no more than 50. I mean, where are you going to put 80? My math just didn't, add up. But I'm just concerned as, make the square footage of the homes that he was going to put over there. I didn't want small houses because my home itself is over 4,000 square feet. But I don't want someone to come in with a smaller home taken away from the value of my home. And that was my only concern.
Thank you. Did I already call Felicia Hartsfield? Oh, nope.
Good afternoon. I'm Felicia Hartsfield. I live at 14888 DeSoto Road. The residents of the area have concerns, as Mr. Payne just said, the homes that you're building are much smaller than the current homes. that are even in the retreat at Center Hill. We're concerned that the back area sounds like it's being reserved for smaller homes, while the retreat at Center Hill, those homes are much larger, which that's just a concern of the residents because of smaller homes being built. The other question we're concerned about is the developer or is the city of Olive Branch responsible for maintaining and restoring DeSoto Road when the project is complete? We learned along the way, doing a little homework, that most of the materials and building materials will be brought in from DeSoto Road. They don't want to tear up the current retreat that's already been built. So we're concerned about the upkeep of DeSoto Road while the project is being built, and we're concerned when the project is done, who's going to restore DeSoto Road. The rezone from agricultural residential to single-family residential district has the residents also concerned. The three common open areas that were mentioned, are these areas to be zoned commercial, therefore a convenience store or something comes in there? We're just concerned about those open areas that were mentioned. When the young gentleman was giving the presentation, he did show how once the retreat was built, then came stores, convenience store and a Dollar General. We don't want that at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this project? All right. When you come down, just state your name and address, please.
My name is Robin Grisanti. I live at 7582 Willowdale, and our house is going to be a thoroughfare for this new subdivision. We live in the lot, literally in the northeast corner of the Retreat subdivision, and we picked that lot because we had a view of that farmland. When we go outside our back door, in the mornings, we look at the deer. When we cook out on the weekends, we sit outside and we look at the deer, look at the landscaping. We have feeders out for all the little rabbits and all the little critters that are out there. We have kind of the best of both worlds because we're in a subdivision, but we're in that back corner where the back of our house is Marshall County. It's really the side of our house that's the subject property in question. But we're at the end of a street that we were told was going to be the dead end. It's a dead end street. We have grandkids that play in that area. It's supposed to be safe because now it sounds like it's going to be all this traffic going back and forth, that it's going to be a cut through to get to Goodman Road. And, you know, I don't know that my opinion matters at all, but I'm very much against it. Very much against it. Do not want this subdivision.
Thank you. Anyone else speak? All right. Oh.
Just woke up a little something. Hey, I'm Elton Phillips. I live at 14944 Elm Hill Drive. I'm against it. I'm one of the ones that live right at the edge. The gentleman Marvin spoke a little earlier. My backyard is in this field that we're talking about destroying. When I purchased that home, the builders told me it was a trust, and it would be a trust for the next 20, 30 years. The trust, from my understanding, now has been sold. Now we got developing coming. I'm against it. I'm very concerned with the backyard of, you know, when you start developing, and I know this is a growing city, but I'm looking at the landscape of all the kind of deers and the animals and all the landscaping that we have in the back of us in the backyard that we are talking about destroying. You know, and I want the commission to consider, you know, that we've been here at the subdivision about 5 years now. You know, and they told us
they emphatically told us, and I know life changes. You know, I got a lot of gray now versus it used to be black. I know things change, and I understand that, but you know, the promise was that this land that was under a trust when I purchased this home was set in stone. Now it seems to be changing. So I'm asking the commission to consider us homeowners that was told one thing and now it seems to be wanting to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. This time we'll close public comment, give the applicant an opportunity to address any of the questions.
Greg Smith again with Civil Link. I'll just address a couple of them. The gentleman mentioned the drainage. I think the first gentleman mentioned he wasn't against it, but he was concerned about the drainage. It'll be my job. That's part of what I do, is to make sure everything drains right. And we're going to catch all the water out of that stormwater detention pond and put it in a very large pipe and pipe it north across the large channel that's already there. Well, it's not large, but there's a channel there where that water runs across the field. We're going to pick all that up in a pipe and make sure everything drains properly. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. That's part of my job to do that. There was a mention of home sizes. Home sizes, you'll find out, should we go to the next application, will be 2,000 square foot minimums. The other thing I saw that I heard was a concern about the common spaces turning to commercial one day, and just so people will know, that's not what those are planned for. They're planned for the use of the people in the neighborhood, and they'll be set aside into a homeowners association, maintained by a homeowners association for the enjoyment of the people who live there. I really have no comments to the other comments that were made, but I'll be glad to answer any further questions that you have.
No. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. All right. I got a question, not for you, I appreciate it. For city staff, the applicant said that it's his responsibility to control all the water. What is the city's responsibility in addition to the developer's responsibility for water mitigation?
Well, the city's definitely going to look at infrastructure plans, any drainage plans. You'll see on the next presentation, the proposed subdivision does have its own retention, and I would assume, I would let Civil Link speak to that, but I would assume that is where the pipe is going. But you'll see on the next presentation, we do have a retention pond, and that retention pond is for retention.
And the common open space is not going to be used, it's not going to be commercial, correct? The common open space, you're not going to rezone that to commercial, are you?
No, sir, I don't believe that that's even something we can do.
Yeah. All right. I'll open up to questions from the commission, comments, suggestions, discussions regarding the rezoning of from AR to R1. The specifics is in regards to the site map. The preliminary plat would come after this request for rezoning. And I remind the commission that our considerations are based on what the city staff said, what we're supposed to consider in regards to the change in the area and public need. So, any comments, questions, discussions? All right, I'll open it up for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval based on the two listings, 1 and 2, that the findings of the rezoning criteria have been met, that it does meet the comprehensive plan 2040 future land use, that it be rezoned from AR to R1.
We've got a motion to approve by Janet Lewis. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second from William Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The motion moves forward. Thank you. All right, new business number 4, consideration of an application for a preliminary plat for Almadale Retreat subdivision submitted by Greg Smith, Civil Link, on behalf of property owners Dane Stovall, James Allen Stovall Revocable Living Trust. The request is to create 86 family residential lots and 3 common open spaces from 50.87 plus or minus acres. The subject property is located on the south side of DeSoto Road at the Marshall County line, approximately 0.86 plus or minus miles east of Center Hill Road. Can we get the staff report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One caveat before I switch this next slide, it is my slide. I made these colors. It's just to help you figure out where the lots are and what sizes they are. It has nothing to do with home sizes or placement of homes within this subdivision. So what I did here is I laid out this residential subdivision. Again, we're already talking about the same place here, DeSoto Road, Center Hill Road, still at the same place. The Almondale residential subdivision at full build-out is proposed to be 86 single-family lots. Those lots are colored in red, purple, blue, brown, beige, and green, light green, okay? And it also has 3 common open spaces, which is like regular grass green in this picture. So that's regular grass green around a blue lake, okay? You also see a gazebo there with a couple benches around that, a walking path. And we go up to the north and you see another green spot there. You see 2 brown boxes. One brown box just labels that as a common open space. The other brown box says that those are mailboxes, just for information. So the proposed preliminary plat is the initial step in the subdivision process, which would proceed to final plat and recordation in the future. The subdivision is proposed to be constructed in 1 phase. Preliminary plat's recommended for approval, subject to multiple conditions, was contingent upon the property being rezoned. Again, as Kevin stated, this map is just facing east to west. It should run north and south, but just for ease of use, I put it this way, mainly to put the lake in front of you so that you could see that there is a recreational facility provided. People in the area will all use this. There's a gazebo there, there's benches there, there's walking paths. It's a clean area, and that is labeled as a retention pond. So the smallest buildable lot within this, what you're seeing, as we just saw on the slide before, is around 15,000 square feet. 14,994 is what the paper says. Largest is 7,800 square feet. That is 1/3 of an acre to 2 acres. So the developer would need to create a homeowners association to share in the cost of maintaining the stormwater management areas and common areas. I thought I'd point out a few things here because I just think it's important to note that there was some thought that went into this. We always talk about how do we calm traffic, how do we keep traffic from turning into dragways, speed racers. I thought it was very neat that they put in these curves around the pond. Not only does it slow people down, but it adds just a little bit of character to this area. A lot of straight roads, section line roads. We go straight everywhere around here. It's sort of neat. There's a couple curves here and it'll slow down traffic. If you notice at the top there in green, those are the proposed mailbox cluster for that area that's off of DeSoto Road. And also, if you'll notice down there at the entrance from the retreat into Almondale, which is a city goal to interconnectivity. Everyone deserves interconnectivity. Everyone deserves it. We should not take that right away from anybody. We all deserve to get to where we need to in the most efficient way. If you'll see there, it's a 50-foot right-of-way. I blew that up, 31 feet, edge of curb to edge of curb. You've also got sidewalks there noted. The transportation connectivity, as I said, the proposed subdivision enhances the city's transportation network by providing street connections adjacent to developments through Willowdale Drive and DeSoto Road. This improves the neighborhood connectivity and supports the city's long-term street network plan. I just talked about infrastructure. The development of this includes a dedication and expansion of DeSoto Road right-of-way to the city standards consistent with the city engineer's recommendation. You'll see the city's memo attached as an exhibit. He also, within that, calls for a 12-foot wide decel lane to improve traffic operations and provide safe access to the subdivision. And then you look at comp plan consistency. We talked about that. The subdivision does align with the Olive Branch comp plan. It incorporates sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. It also provides interconnected street design. As I just said, that's a goal within the comp plan. I've noted this before on previous presentations. It's objective 2.2 within our comp plan. That's to promote a safe and efficient connected transportation systems, number one for motorists, cyclists, and pedestrians. So we want walkability as much as we want people to be able to drive. Looking at some of the things here, we already know because there is people that live in the area, the blue line does represent City of Olive Branch, as I showed y'all on the previous map. This is actually county over here, so we know within this area public utilities are available. We know that water and gas, sewer, along with any other electric, those type of utilities are available. The developer would be responsible for the extension of these utilities into the subject property. This brings us up to our next steps. Again, as we just said before, this will need to go to the Planning Commission, present to the Board of Aldermen for their approval. City regulations allow the subdivider, upon approval, to get construction plans to the city engineer, proceed with constructions. So our staff recommendation is that staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve preliminary plat, and we've got some recommendations. We're going to move to those. Here are our recommendations, 1 through 12. Some of these talk about the HOA establishment. Some of these talk about landscaping features on DeSoto Road, number 5, I believe. Very important to take a look at that. Number 3, the developers shall install drainage pipe, erosion control material, sewer mains, water service mains, fire hydrants, etc. Those will be provided by the developer. Sidewalk improvements as required to be shown on the preliminary plat, those are. And then on final plat, you can see here we want all of these common open spaces dedicated to the retreat so that the homeowners association can maintain them, and it's a beautiful place for the citizens, future citizens of the Almondale Retreat. That is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'll take those. We've got, yeah, that's a good point. So it was brought up, those number 6, how small, how large the house is. Here you go, declaration language should include, and these are CCRs submitted and customized for the Almondale Retreat. The intent to impose a 2,000 square foot heated minimum house size, minimum 75% brick on each sides of all buildings, and address the garage orientation. So I think that would be a good one. We might need to, do you want the garages to face towards the street, or do you want them to be side load? So that would be something, if you wanted to add, I think that's a great place to put that in. So thank you for bringing it to my attention.
All right, just a question. Thank you for the report. Is the garage orientation something we do on final plat submission or on this submission?
That's usually a final plat, sir.
Final plat?
Yes.
Thank you. Quick question on the DeSoto Road widening. Do we have a timeline on the DeSoto Road widening?
That would be an engineering question. I'm not for sure where that road actually lies as far as the improvement plan within the comp plan. I do know that the city engineer has made reference to this specific area, and while they're building this specific area, that the improvements they would need to make for the entire DeSoto Road, that's part of the long-term planning, and that would need to be addressed by engineering. Maybe the Board of Aldermen would be a great place because the city engineer would be available.
And in your Annie Swim's letter to the Planning Commission, he talks about the treatment plant. Oh, I'm sorry, extending extending water and sewer down DeSoto Road. Is there a requirement? Is this going to put additional burden on the current sewer pump station?
So, sir, the city engineer's memo addresses a sewer issue. So right now, not just both, Kirk Farms, for example, Senahi Farms, that's under construction. Kirk Farm, they just started clearing and grading. This particular subdivision and the one to the west, I think that's Senahi Plantation, that Mr. Mr. David Halley, I think, got approved. All of those developments have to discharge to the new sewer plant that will become operational, I think, 2028, I think. And what the Crower is doing, and the City of Olive Branch happens to hold a presidential seat on the Regional Utility Board. Each of these developers is only permitted to discharge, the kind of buy credits, because the lagoon, the Braeburn Lagoon right now, can only take so much. So each of them, it's kind of quartered. You can only build a certain number of lots. After building those number of lots, you have to stop until when the new sewer plant becomes available for you to have to continue and be able to fully discharge sewer into that infrastructure. So one of the conditions following the city engineer's memo, one of the conditions, and this will really come at the final plat, because it's at the final plat that we address how many houses can be permitted at a time. However, it is important to note now to the applicant that this preliminary plat may be approved in its entirety for all those 86 lots. And when the applicant goes in to build the infrastructure, he can build the sewer lines for the entire 86 lots. Lay the sewer lines across the entire piece of property. He's free to do that. However, he will only be able to connect to those sewer lines, to connect houses to those sewer lines based on how many he is permitted following final plat approval. So he may not be able, because unless he decides to build it in phases, the application before you does not propose any phase line. Everything is kind of proposed to be built at once. If he wants to build it all at once, he can take that risk. But he will only be permitted to connect to the sewer lines or to build new houses and connect them to the sewer lines going to Braeburn based on how many the Crower and the city engineer permit him to do at a point in time. And I think he's aware of that. They're aware of that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. The city engineer seems to have requested that phasing be implemented on this. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And it's my understanding the preliminary plat in front of you does not have a phase line. If you permit me to ask the applicant, if you permit.
Yeah, and we haven't even got to the application. To the applicant yet.
Okay, we're still in the staff.
Yeah.
Please. Let me not scatter procedures. Please, just wait.
And that's for the commission.
That will be a question to ask the applicant. Maybe they have not yet they have not shown it on the plat. They may today say, we intend to actually go in and do this in phases. We only build, a certain number. They may provide you that information.
Well, I just noted that your staff recommendation didn't say anything about it, so I wanted to make sure that was taken into account on y'all's recommendation.
Yes, sir. If it's included in the city engineer's memo, he did call attention to that. If the applicant does not address that, I will be adding condition number 12, number 13. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Just so that I'm clear on this, DeSoto Road is that a county road or is that a city road that will be maintained once, the question was raised, who's going to maintain this road once the construction, during the construction, and then once it's completed? Is that county or is that city or is that a responsibility of the developer?
If I can have this. No. Can go back to your area map, the area map you just left. So this is the Soto Road. So this is Center Hill Road, and this is the Soto Road right up to the city limits. It used to be in the county until the city annexed, of course. So the Soto Road is partially in the city and partially in the county. It's in the city right up to the city limits, and then the rest of it is in Marshall County. From this point, going eastward. So this blue line, that is the city limit. From this point going eastward is in the county. From this point going westward is in the city. So being a city street now, the city is responsible for the improvement of that road. But the applicant will be responsible for constructing a deceleration lane and making improvements on DeSoto Road within the limits of the right-of-way of that property. So that is standard city practice. David Halley, this is the property that was approved I think last year, for another development. David Halley is supposed to be building here. He will be expanding the DeSoto Road in the frontage of this property from year to year, right up to the front of that church. And as the other properties within this, so you're going to have a little area in between, and as those other lots develop, they will also be expanded subsequently. It's such that hopefully within the next couple of years, that road may be fully expanded.
Any other questions for staff? Would the applicant please come forward?
Greg Smith again with Civil Link. Really had nothing to add other than the fact that we will not be using street-facing garages. So they will be they'll be side-orientated garages. So, and as far as the phasing is concerned, that's something that's typically handled on the final end, depending on a couple things. In this case, it depends on the sewer, how many they can take on right now. The other factor of that would be the market. I mean, they can sell at a time to take down. So that's a yet to be determined thing, but it doesn't affect the overall layout of the project. So that's all I have.
Yeah. Any questions for the applicant? So a question for you. If I appreciate you discussing the garage orientation. Where would you most likely start building the houses? South end or north end?
It would probably start on the north end because that's where the infrastructure, as far as the utilities are. The sewer's going to be on the north end, and it's always the most economical place to start, and it's a logical place in this case. So it'll start on the north and work its way toward the south.
And what would be current economic conditions? What would be the length of time for total build-up?
I'd let him. He's the
on the build-out. You're probably looking at typically probably about 24 houses a year. Given this, now I know we're asking for the minimum of 2,000 square foot, which is the same as the retreat at Center Hill. But keep in mind, given the price and everything of the lots, it's going to be hard to build at that. The product that the builder would probably put out there would probably take them at least, I would say on 24, it's going to take probably about 4-year build out, 3 to 4 years to build it out.
And what would be, when you put that sign out there, it says home starting at?
I'd say you're probably.
I know you're.
I'd say if I was guessing based on the price of the lots, probably going to have to be in the 425 to 460 range. Would probably be the most typical. And we will have a HOA. The HOA will be in place. In fact, we're going to mirror. We've pulled the covenants and restrictions from Retreat at Center Hill, and we're going to mirror those covenants so that we're. We want to be consistent, good neighbors, so we're trying to make sure it's the same as similar to what they have as well. So we'll have that in place and mirror it almost verbatim for that subdivision. As far as DeSoto Road, we will start on the north side and we'll improve DeSoto Road all the way across the front property in phase 1, in the very first phase.
And the last question, what when you get to 24 houses, 6 years down the road, when you're building those houses on the south side, what is not the setback? How far will the home be from the current homeowner's property line? How much depth? And I know I'm asking.
Technically, you have a rear building setback. I believe it was 25 feet. It's on the plat. But yeah, so technically a house could be as far as that off the property line. However, they don't usually build them. They usually build them on the front. And the lots along that subdivision in the back are fairly deep. They're 200 feet lots, 200 foot total in length. You're going to be building the house off the front.
Yeah, so about 50, so you're about
70,
so about 100.
You can say between 75 and 100 feet off of that rear property line with your house, more than likely. So.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
Will there be any type of fence put up between the two subdivisions?
We have not discussed that, but if we, we obviously could put one up. If we did, we'd probably just put up, cedar fence. We'll have a nice fence and landscaping across DeSoto Road. That will most likely be done by Quality Landscape, but on the back side, we really hadn't thought about putting a fence back there, but we could certainly put like a cedar fence across the back, and put that up. We're pretty, we're pro fence, so we don't mind helping out with that if we need to.
So the discussion about fencing is in this, okay. That will be in the final plat. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for the applicant? Thank you. All right, I'm going to open it to public comment. So if there's anyone that'd like to speak for this application. Okay. Is there anyone that'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Please remember to keep all your comments towards the commission and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Doug Vanderford, 7493 Bell Manor Drive. I've been a homeowner in the retreat since 2018. It's been touched upon previously, but we are concerned with the increased traffic volume. We currently have 1,200 to 1,400 vehicle hits per day in and out of the retreat as it stands. These additional homes would increase that by over 50% potentially. I realize some folks would access DeSoto Road, but there's also probably going to be a heavier traffic volume. It moves through the retreat to get to Highway 302. It's been communicated that you've got capacity in terms of water and sewer. Ever since I've lived in the retreat, we've dealt with low water pressure issues. I think most folks are aware of the sewer capacity issues. You touched upon that. You've previously approved some subdivisions where you have restricted them until that additional sewer capacity is there. So I think that bears further scrutiny as you go through the engineering phase of this project. A lot of long-term growth in the area. If you look within a 2-mile radius of the retreat, there's probably 1,500 to 2,000 planned homes when you look at all the development along Center Hill, the expansion of Center Hill Farms, and others in that area. So the infrastructure is being pushed to its limits. 86 more is going to add to that. So just something that probably bears further scrutiny. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Katrina Cotton. I live at 14844 Elm Hill. I live in the Retreat subdivision. My home backs up to the new subdivision, proposed subdivision. I'm against it because it's a beautiful area and we've lived there for almost 5 years and we were told the same thing about well, I guess that don't matter anymore. I wanted to know about, like Vanderford was talking about, the traffic. If this is going to wind up with Willowdale Road through my neighborhood, that's going to be awful. The way they're going to come down Elm Hill to Willowdale and make a left, and go that way, that's going to be a lot of traffic. I wish they would go another route. They don't have to come that way. I know there's another way they could go, but that's my thing. I don't want all the traffic. Traffic brings a lot of stuff, to your neighborhood. You wouldn't want it either. So that's my objection.
Thank you. Oh, come on down.
My name's Marie Rice, and I live at 369 Surrey Loop in Bahia, Mississippi. So we're in the Marshall County. So we live down DeSoto Road. My question is, there's already a brand-new neighborhood built down the street from us on DeSoto Road with 48 houses. So now we at DeSoto Road and Highway 309 Bahia Road, there is no street light. And if you're getting ready to add 86 more homes, and then whatever is in that other neighborhood that's coming, we're already seeing a lot of more traffic with just that new street. Like, we have a backup of 6 cars, you know, trying to turn at Bahia Road. So my question is, do y'all communicate to your neighboring counties of your development that how they should be preparing traffic-wise? Or do I need to contact my county to say, there's 2 neighborhoods being built on around DeSoto Road that's going to increase the traffic flow, and we need a stoplight at DeSoto Road and Highway 309. So do y'all do that, or am I supposed to do that?
We just deal with the applications in front of us.
You just go with the applications,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
there's no coordination between counties?
I'll let city staff answer all the questions. We'll answer all the questions after public input.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speak in opposition or in favor of? Come on down. Come on down.
I know I've spoken.
It's okay.
I've spoken once, but I heard him say about the drainage, and he said he was going to drain it to the north. Well, that's my front yard. If he's going to drain it to the north, there's only one drainage ditch from that whole subdivision that comes by my house, and it's not big enough to sustain what it has now. But you're going to put 86 more houses in there. I mean, then you're going to flood my home. So I did say at first I wasn't against it. Now I'm against it, because you're going to put that water in my front door. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Come on down.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Annie Guy. I live on 14830 DeSoto Road. I heard you all mention that a drain pipe would be placed to move the water. We already have that in our backyard. And when it rains, it's a puddle. It's like a little lake, and it takes several days for it to clear up. Our neighbor put that pipe there, and we get water from all different directions, and it just sits there. So that needs to be changed. And if this happens, what is the time frame for completing this project? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, at this time, I'll close the public hearing, give the opportunity for the applicant to address any of the questions that were asked.
If you'd like to, we'd be glad to.
Thank you.
I think, it's Greg Smith again with Civil Link. I think the only concern I heard that kind of piqued my interest, I guess, as far as need discussion was drainage. Everything drains to the north, away from this subdivision. I don't really know what else to say about that. It drains away from them, so we have to keep it going that way. If there's any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to bring it back to city staff one more time about what are the requirements for any new development as far as additional water impacting any other residents? What's our requirement for the city?
So city regulations require for subdivisions, there are three main things. First, the new subdivision cannot discharge more water out of that property, both in volume and at a rate greater than post-development, greater than it was pre-development. So if you can go in there and put rooftops, you can go in there and build roads. Those roads are impervious surface. Water will not be able to infiltrate into the ground. Your post-development standards or runoff from that side cannot exceed your pre-development standard, whether to an adjoining property or even to a public street. You cannot do that. That is the reason why, two, the subdivision must provide stormwater management infrastructure on the property. Not just to capture the water in pipes, but also to retain that water on that property and only discharge it at a rate that does not exceed the pre-development conditions. So if you look at the subdivision in front of you as proposed, the applicant is collecting that water and detaining it here on a 2.25 acres. So you're going to have a 2.25, 2.25 acre stormwater retention pond in this subdivision with a trail around it. That's like a micro lake with a trail around it. The purpose being all the water that the neighborhood is concerned about. So the retreat neighborhood is here to the south. That water will be piped, picked up on these properties, and from all directions moved into that center stormwater detention area. As such, and if you follow the topography of the site, it drains this way. So you will not have a situation where stormwater from this property will be discharging or flowing onto the adjoining retreat subdivision to the south. Instead, this subdivision will help manage that stormwater problem. Right now, you have water, as one of the neighbors' residents did mention. If you have water that is accumulating in this area, that is an area that's going to become homes. So the developer will have to grade that area and slope it such that the water flows northward away from his backyard and then pick up that water in the pipes at the public street and move it into that detention pond. So this is actually going to help alleviate some of the stormwater problems they have in the rear yard of the property, of their own properties.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is...
Yeah, and during when they submit their final plat, excuse me, when they submit their final plat, they will show us a map, and it will be on the screen where you can look at it and you can see where all the water drains.
Yes.
We can't show you it here because there's a lot of engineering that goes into it and expense. But during the final plat, when they bring that to us, there's still another step in this process. Okay. During the final plat, you'll be able to see where that water is going to drain, because it's a requirement of the applicant to bring it to us before, and bring it to the city staff before the engineer will approve it, or before it even comes to us to consider it. Okay.
So you're going to have, this is the first phase, the first stage of the subdivision process is approval of the preliminary plat. It's basically just a layout. And then after this, they will have to do a full set of engineering construction plans. Sometimes they go to 100 pages, addressing utilities, street construction, and stormwater management, drainage. During construction, somebody did mention, where are they going to begin? During construction, you don't want cars tracking mud and so on coming out from here. All of that is going to be handled in the construction, civil set of construction plans. Where are you going to put a silt fence to ensure that you don't have muddy water from that side affecting adjoining property? All of that is going to be addressed in the civil set of construction plans, which a city engineer will review and approve. And often you don't just only have the set of construction plans, you also have a booklet that includes all the stormwater calculations. The numbers have to show that that detention pond and the pipes are sized enough to handle the water that this particular subdivision is going to create. And we've had situations in the city where post-construction, when the as-built is submitted, If it is not functioning exactly as it was designed, the city engineer goes back. That's why we hold bonds. We hold letter of credit. The engineer tells the developer, you have to go back and change what you did in this subdivision, correct everything before those letters of credit are finally released. So the city has a pretty stringent process in addressing that is done. With regard to the issue of DeSoto Road and Highway 309, that is in Marshall County, so the city of Olive Branch does not have jurisdiction. If Marshall County communicates with us on a development there, we will address it. But there is no problem in us notifying Marshall County that there is such a development going on here. We can communicate with the planners or any of the city administrators there and let them know that if you can do it, that will help take something away from my plate, ma'am. Thank you very much for offering to do that. Thank you. Thank you. And with regard to connection to the retreat subdivision to the south, I think I showed on this particular map. And I think the concern is this connection at this particular point. That's where the concern is. This street was stopped, so you don't have, it's not a cul-de-sac. It was stopped to this vacant lot in the north precisely because of this interconnectivity. That's why you had that stop. If you had a cul-de-sac ending it, then it was planned to end. When it is stopped, it is intended to be connected. And I can see why whoever approved this in the county in those days asked that it be stopped in this particular way, not just from a planning perspective, but also from a fire service perspective. Fire code requires, once you hit 30 lots, you must provide secondary access. Once you hit 30 lots, you must provide a secondary access out of that particular subdivision. And when you count the total number of lots in the subdivision to the south, you've got one access point here going on, is that Payne? On Payne Lane coming out here, and you've got a second access coming on the Place Drive. And you count the total density in here, you actually need a third point of exit from a fire code perspective. Fire marshals are allowed to permit those stops in view of future developments. And when you count everything, 3 exits, it's really what you will require to meet the fire code. So that's probably why it was done. Lastly, in terms of the lot sizes, there was a question that was posed in terms of the lot sizes, and I think this particular map does justice to that question. This is to scale, really to scale, because it fits into the property. If you look at these lots here, and Jeremiah has done a beautiful job trying to color it and give the lot sizes. If you look at these lots here, they are similarly in size to the adjoining lots to the south. If you look at the sizes of those lots. The minimum lot size here, as I see it, this is green, is 16,000 square feet. You have ones that are minimum 17,000. This one is actually minimum 20,000, and this is minimum 41,000 square feet. So those lots are comparable in size to the adjoining lots to the south in terms of neighborhood compatibility. That is the way the developer has designed this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
So again, first night on the job. So I want to make sure I'm clear on something. When I'm going back to the engineer's report, where he asked in the interim, they're requesting that phasing be established. And do we know how many homes are now using that Brayborn, and what effect 24 or 86 or however it's built in would have on that?
He will have to establish that phasing. This is going to be my recommendation. I was going to say, if we come to this, I'll have to make a recommendation on condition number 13. I think condition number 13 from the Planning Commission, if you're inclined to approve this, And he has already stated that he intends almost in a year to build about 24 houses going down. You can phase them every 24 houses, whatever way you want to draw the phase line. After all, in phase 1 itself, he will have to build that detention pond as part of phase 1. He has to build it. So if you come in from the Soto Road, you create these houses coming down and including that pond. That just has to be part of phase 1 because you have to detain the water right from the onset. That has to be there. So the recommendation from staff will be this item will be heard at the Board of Aldermen 3rd Tuesday in August. I think that's going to be August 24th or August 18th. 3rd Tuesday in August. So between now and when this is considered at a public hearing by the Board of Aldermen, August 18th, thank you. Between now and when this is considered at a public hearing by the Board of Aldermen, the applicant needs to sit down with the city engineer, work out these issues, and establish phase lines on these before the Board of Aldermen hears the item. That will be staff's recommendation. And I think that can be done. It just takes about 2 minutes, they can get that done. He will need, of course, the city engineer will need to discuss with the crewer. There are a lot of other factors that we need to take into consideration, but they've got more than a month to get that done.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a recommendation, then you would add a 13
Right.
to identify phase lines, if you want to write that down. Any other questions for staff? If no questions for staff, I will open it up to ask commissioners to comment, discuss, suggestions, and a motion. Could you bring the motion up? Okay.
So I guess my motion would be to accept the staff recommendations, but to add the additional 13th caveat that there be a phased-in initiative of some type that conforms with the city engineer's recommendations.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the application based on the 12 staff recommendations and the additional recommendation of phase lines. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, we have a second from Janet Lewis. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes. New business number 5. Consideration of an application for the final plat of Polk Lane and Goodman Road Travel Center, submitted by Adam McCachran, Houston Engineering, on behalf of property owner Yasir Saleh. The request is to create a single lot of 7 ± acres. The subject property is Zone C2 Highway Commercial District and is located at the southwest corner of Goodman Road and Polk Lane. Can we get the staff report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, to bring us where we are, we'll just go west from where we were up to Polk Lane, look south. Polk Lane does take us to the new animal shelter, if that helps you familiarize where we are. Helen of Troy is here, FedEx is here. This is the particular parcel we're talking about. This is just a copy here of the plat we're going to be looking at. This is an approval requested for the final plat, Lot 1 of the Polk Lane Goodman Travel Subdivision. The proposed development supports a 20-year conditional use permit for the development of a truck stop with fuel pumps on the newly created lot within the C2 Highway Commercial District. The site has access to public sewer, water, and roadway infrastructure. This proposed plat complies with all applicable zoning and subdivision regulations. Staff recommendations is planning staff recommends approval for the final plat subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. Here is the final plat in front of you. It's also with your staff report. Again, this is on behalf of the Polk Lane Goodman Center, the site and zoning. We've talked about that at C2. Within the subdivision process, the 20-year CUP authorizes the proposed truck stop use. Final plat approval is required separately through the subdivision review process, including planning recommendation along with the Board of Aldermen approval. I'll get my mouse mover up to work. Here are our next steps based on recommendation by the Planning Commission. As we just talked about, this plat would move forward to the Board of Aldermen. Final plat must be recorded before any building permits can be issued. So our staff recommendation is to approve this final plat. We've got conditions 1 through 5 as our recommendation. For conditions for approval, all provisions, requirements, stipulations, and/or approval conditions of the applicable to the lots as ordered by the Board of Zoning Adjustment February 13, 2025 regarding the approval of a 20-year CUP for a truck stop are maintained. 1 through 5, again, if you have any questions, I'm ready to take them. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interject. I will actually recommend that we remove that condition number 3.
Okay. All right. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, that went over my head. What did you say? Remove condition
That
3?
that we remove condition number 3. The application before you is for a plat. It's a subdivision plat. It's not a conditional use permit. The last thing we want to do is to tie conditions of a conditional use permit to a subdivision plat. That creates a situation where every time if the Board of Zoning Adjustment were to amend those conditions, then you have to come back and amend the plat. You know, because you've tied the two, you don't want that happening. So let the conditions of the Board of Zoning Adjustment with regard to, and also today is a truck stop, it may be a different use tomorrow on the same lot. So let the two stay separate, please.
Got it. All right. Any questions for city staff? Any more questions? All right, is the applicant here?
Byron Houston, Houston Engineering, P.O. Box 3087, Oxford, Mississippi. Y'all having a good night?
Oh, well, you could have been number 6. So.
I know y'all are like me, ready to get home.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Since this is a final plat, there's not a requirement for public hearing, so I'll pass this to the commissioners for questions, comments, suggestions, discussions, and motion.
If there's no discussion, I move to accept, subject to the staff recommendations, with the removal of point 3.
Thank you. We've got a motion to approve with removing staff recommendation number 3 from William Jones. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mark Long with the second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 6. Consideration of an application for the 5th revision of Bill Huey, Com, and 3rd revision of Bill Huey, Com, PH2 subdivision submitted by Luke Matthias, Morel Engineering, on behalf of property owner Patsy Christenberry. The request is to combine lots 5 and 6 of Bill Huey Commercial along with a portion of lot 14 of Bill Huey Commercial Phase 2 to create a new lot 5 totaling 3 plus 047 plus or minus acres and reducing lot 14 to 1.235 plus or minus acres. The subject property is zoned C2 Highway Commercial District and is located at the southeast corner of Huey Road and Goodman Road. Can we get a staff report?
Chairman, Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to consider a final plat, or actually be a replat of, there are 3 lots, 3 existing lots, or 3 parcels that are included in this subdivision in 2 different recorded plats. That's why you have it kind of worded the way it is. Lots 5 and 6 of Bill Huey Commercial, along with a portion of lot 14 of Bill Huey Commercial Phase 2. So Bill Huey Commercial Phase 2 is down here, that's lot 14, and then 5 and 6 of Bill Hewitt subdivision are these other two lots to the north or adjacent Highway 302. So in terms of where we are in the city, this is Huey Road, this is Highway 302, you have Davidson Road at this location. This is quality landscaping. So you are looking at a piece of property directly across Huey Road from quality landscaping. And I think this is a Murphy's gas station just across the street. The purpose of this replat is timber, outdoor sporting goods. They intend to develop this site for about a 25,500 square feet retail facility. That will be a great addition to the city. And the building will have to sit in a way that it crosses this lot line, and then the stormwater detention is in this area. Because of setback requirements, they'll have to replat the property and combine those lots. So that is essentially the purpose. So this is lot 5 as replatted. The existing property line here in the middle will have to be removed, and then this area will become the utility stormwater management area, and that of course means lot 14 will have to be reconfigured to basically what you have now. So you have this area that has been acquired by MDOT that will become part of public right-of-way. The lot line will kind of move further to the south. Lot 5 will become 30.047 acres, and then this will be lot 14. You have a sewer line, an existing sewer line at this location. An easement will be reserved for it. The applicant or the developer of lot 5, both lot 5 and lot 4, should be able to tap into that sewer manhole for the development of the site. Utilities are readily available. I already talked about the sewer. Along Goodman Road, there is an 8-inch water line. These are all fire hydrants that can serve, 8-inch water line that can serve the proposed lots. Property is zone C2 Highway Commercial District. There is no minimum lot size in the Highway Commercial District. Staff recommends approval subject to these conditions 1 through 7. We wish to emphasize conditions number 3 to 5. The developer of each lot shall construct sidewalks along the Huey Road right-of-way of each concerned lot, not along Goodman Road. We have a lot of undeveloped property to the south that lends itself to medium-density residential or other commercial development. We want to be able to connect those lots, from a pedestrian perspective. Secondly, any utility easement within the subject lot that does not have an existing utility line within it is hereby vacated and should be eliminated from the plat. What that means is this, for example, there is an existing utility easement here. If an outer survey shows that there is no existing utility line there, then that easement is vacated. In that way, you're not putting up a building on top of a utility easement. And lastly, the developer of any of the proposed lot is authorized to make improvements to Huey Road as may be necessary upon consultation with and as such standard as may be approved by the city engineer. Over the years, Huey Road has not really been in good shape. This just authorizes the developer to go on the road and make any improvements if, they so desire. But the city engineer, public works department, they are looking at possibility of the city going in and doing some improvements there if it happens. But that condition just authorizes the developer to also go in. They may decide, hey, we are doing this construction here, nice building, nice parking lot, let's go in here and do some improvements on the street. That just gives them that authorization. Thank you. That concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff? Can you go back to the picture that shows, Huey Road? So they're going to do the sidewalk just to the extent of lot 5, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I do have a question for staff. Do we know if Quality has the ability to improve that road as well?
Quality has not improved the road. Can you state the question again, sir? Let me make sure.
Yeah, we're saying in your recommendations that these individuals would have the right to improve the road. Does Quality have that same right?
Yes, if Quality came in today and wanted to plat and do improvements on the road, we will authorize them to. It's to the advantage of the city if they can be the ones doing it.
Okay.
So, Quality actually has been using that road for a very long time, packing up their landscaping infrastructure on the road, trees and so on the street, which has now been moved. I mean, they've moved to all of that. If you look at this map, all this green stuff you've got here, that's really quality landscaping material within the public right-of-way. They have now removed it, and so hopefully, if the city goes into making improvements or the developer of quality in future, then that road can be cleaned up more. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff? Is the applicant here? Been waiting patiently.
Yes, my name is Luke Mathias with Morel Engineering. We are the civil engineer and the surveyor. We have submitted a site plan concurrently for an approximately 20 to 25,000 square foot outdoor store. I'll let the owner's authorized representative kind of give you some input on what the building will have. But I'm here to answer any questions. There was a couple things that were mentioned with staff is the condition of the road. We had a pre-design meeting with staff, and that was also a concern. You know, we're not really sure what stance engineering takes on what comments we'll receive during the site plan review, but we plan to work through those comments with engineering for the current condition of the road and sidewalks. But I'm here to answer any questions that you all have. I think they pretty much gave a good description of what we're trying to do by combining 3 lots and make it to 2 lots. So,
I'm Corey White, representing the owner, and we are number 6. So, just want to give you kind of just a brief overview of Winter Timber Outdoors. It was started in the middle of COVID in 2020 in Athens, Alabama. Started with about a 3,000 square foot space. Really specialized in, mid to high end hunting, outdoor lifestyle apparel, and really just filled a void between your mom and pop pawn shops and your big box stores, Walmart included. And it was really more just specialized hunting gear, deer hunting, upland hunting, waterfowl hunting, and he really found a niche there in North Alabama. We expanded the store in 2021, doubled the square footage, and then in 2024, he purchased a building directly behind him, doubled the square footage again, and then also used it for warehousing and distribution. And then last year, we completed the largest store to date, which is a 13,000 square foot store in Auburn, Alabama. And the story behind that is the owner's son had a graduating senior, enrolled at Auburn, just, big Alabama fan, but he spent a lot of time down there and just really fell in love with the community. And, there was a need down there. Looked at a couple of different sites over the last couple of years, up in Tennessee, different cities in Oxford. But Olive Branch kind of stuck out because him and a couple of the other guys, the executive officers, duck hunt in Arkansas. And so this was just kind of a natural, path to get, to where they hunt, where their ground is out there, without having to go to the pyramid. And just, this is a little bit safer route, not afraid for your kids to stop and pull over at a gas station or fast food restaurant and eat. So that's kind of how this location came about. And so we're really excited about the prospect of, opening up here in Olive Branch. And if you have any questions about, the store or anything, I'd be glad to answer those.
Thank you. And I appreciate the story, and good on you for developing or finding that niche for retail. It's dying breed. And I think I speak for everybody, we're honored that you would choose Olive Branch. Any questions for the applicant? Does anybody duck hunt? No, just kidding.
I could make an Auburn joke, but I'll refrain.
No, no questions. Thank you. Thank you. All right, is anybody here to speak in opposition of this? Okay, good. All right. I'll bring it back to the commission. Comments, suggestions, discussions, and motion.
I make a motion to approve.
A second.
Yep. All right, we got a motion from Diane Sanger, and we've got a second from William Jones. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Number 7. Consideration of application to reinstate the preliminary plat Carson Creek submitted by Martin Paradise, property owner, Carson Creek, 78 single-family residential lot, 3 for 6 plus or minus acres. Subject property is on R1, single-family residential district, and located on the east side of the village, so the corner of East
Chairman, Planning Commissioners, before you is a request to reinstate the preliminary plat for Carson Creek subdivision that sought to create, as you did mention, a total of 78 single-family residential lots on 38.6 acres. The property is zone R1 single-family residential. To kind of give you a bit of a background what you're reinstating. Yeah. Back in 2021, this property was rezoned from AR agricultural residential to R1 single-family residential. And that rezoning was associated with a preliminary plat for Carson Creek subdivision. The Board of Aldermen approved that plat to create these 78 detached single-family residential lots. In September 2022, the civil set of construction plans for the 78 lots were approved by the city engineer into the records. In March of this year, the owner at the time, Marion Trade Water Road Group, requested that the 78 lots plat be revised to create minimum 1 acre lots that basically came up with a plat then of 25 lot subdivision. So that was approved by the Board of Aldermen on March 17, 2026. And then in May of this year, Mr. Martin Carradine acquired the property. And he doesn't want to develop the site in accordance with the 1 acre lot, minimum lot size. He rather wants to go back to the 78 lots that were approved back in 2021 configuration. So that is what you have in front of you. Basically, a new buyer, new owner who wants to go back to the original plan for the subdivision. That's really what is happening. So this is what was approved back in 2021. And this is what was approved this year, the change, you know. So the request before you is really that the March 17, 2026 plat that proposed 25 lots be annulled. So all of this becomes invalid. We do away with this, and we reinstate this preliminary plat that was approved October 19, 2021 for the 78 lots, and revalidate the construction plans for this particular subdivision as was approved by the city engineer on September 26, 2022. Since this plat was approved, there's been no zoning change. There is a request by the city engineer, and the preliminary plat actually showed the entire right-of-way on Davidson Road in frontage of this property being improved. But when the construction plans were approved, the right-of-way improvements ended about this location. It was about 150 feet short, because of some other improvements that were going on. Villages of South Branch to the west. The city engineer recommends that the full length of the right-of-way be actually improved without any need to upgrade the pipe under Davidson Road. So this is the plat you'll be reinstating. Just as it was approved in 2021, no change. Board of Aldermen already approved this. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approves and recommends that the Board of Aldermen annuls the 25 lots plat and then reinstate the 78 lots plat, revalidate the associated construction plans subject to these provisions 1 to 2. 1, all conditions of approval of the preliminary plat for Carson Creek that sought to create the 78 single-family residential lots as were imposed by the Board of Aldermen on October 19, 2021 are maintained. So the board order, all those conditions are maintained as part of this reinstatement. And secondly, that a set of civil construction plans that were approved by the city engineer associated with that particular plat, that is revalidated, subject to the developer of Carson Creek widening Davidson Road along the full length of the property street frontage and extending the drainage pipe under Davidson Road without upgrade in size. That is the recommendation of the city engineer. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. I was really excited about those 25 one-acre lots. I really was. Any questions for staff? Is the applicant here? No.
No, sir.
All right. Would anyone like to speak in for or against this application? I bring it to the commission. Comments, suggestions, discussions, and a motion.
I make a motion to approve, subject to the staff recommendations 1 and 2.
We've got a motion to approve by Janet Lewis. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We got a second from Mark Long. Any discussion on the motion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Any long drawn-out discussions, conversations from city staff before we adjourn?
Just one item, sir. I wish to introduce.
I saw the Facebook post.
No, we've spoken too much.
Wait, how much you?
So I wish to introduce Mr. Andrew Hawkins-Smith. He is a new Assistant Director of Planning and Development. Andrew is coming to us from Horn Lake, so he knows the lay of the land. He was Planning Director in Horn Lake for about the past 2 years, I believe. He's a graduate of University of Memphis, was a master in planning, and next month he should be here taking this fire. From today I will go to rest, and then he will be taking this fire going forward. So we are excited to have him on staff, and in a public hearing you have from next month, please ask him the questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, you got lucky you were in a short meeting tonight. All right. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we've got a motion from Mark Long. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Janet Lewis. Sorry, Diana Singer. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. We'll adjourn.